How you doing?
The stream? Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I
nice.
just started the stream. Yeah.
Okay.
How you doing?
So, I'm doing fine personally. I've been doing like some driving recently, so my legs are like kind of broken right now, but yeah, I'm just doing this like casually sort of like a conversation, see what I disagree with, because I consider myself an enlightened centrist, dare I say.
Anytime I see an enlightened centrist, it's seldom that they're. Usually they're a centrist because they don't have enough information. That's what I.
Well,
Yeah,
that's true to a certain extent. That's true to a certain extent. Um,
that's at
but
least what I've observed among centrists.
I used to be like center right, and then I saw the right starting to get super freaking weird. Like it's
Used to be
becoming a
right.
lot more. Yeah, I used to be center right. Yeah,
Oh, that's
I used to
wild.
be yeah. It's just that they're becoming a lot more evangelical and sort of like pseudo neocon-y.
Hmm.
Like not full on neocons, but they're becoming a lot more interventionist. Like for example, in Iran and like Palestine, and they're trying to like mess around with Pakistan, I think, too. It's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, like what I'm seeing among the right, it's definitely crazy. Like it's not in my mind acceptable at all. The
Yeah,
pushes
and
towards right wing populism has been really, really harmful, I think.
yeah, and it's becoming it's moving to the right on a lot of LGBT issues or like religious issues too. And
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think that's
messed up.
good. I also don't like it becoming a bit autocratic, but I also have a lot of disagreements with like the left and even like centrist types too, because I consider myself like nonpartisan. I could just change my views on a whim if I get evidence that's proven right.
I'm in the same
Like
boat.
I've changed my views on like climate change a little bit. Now I'm a
Hmm.
bit more in favor of like instead of just hydro, nuclear, and fossil fuels, I believe in that some other types of green energy are fine now,
Okay.
for example.
Uh, I mean, like I'm in favor of nuclear. Like I think nuclear is the way to
Yeah,
go.
nuclear is really good,
Yeah.
but it's costly.
Give me one quick second. I have to open up my restream chat because I'm missing chats. I'm so sorry. Give me a sec. Okay. Someone says how much does it cost to debate you? It costs nothing. You can call the number 202
Yeah,
5218, or you can go on the Modern Day Debate Discord, discord.gg/Modern Day Debate. I'm in a stream called Live Stream. If you look at the VCs, you should see me there. Just about anybody can join. So yeah, if you disagree about something, we can have the discussion.
oh shoot, I really don't think all abortions should be illegal. Like I think about 90% of them should be, but I only believe in like the first trimester, honestly.
Really?
And it's not
What if
even
the mother's life
substituted
is
with
at
like
stake?
well there are going to be exceptions, of course, but
So then you're
um
in favor of late term.
in very rare exceptions, yeah.
Well, that would
But
be
most
late
of the
term.
time, yeah. In those exceptions, I'm mostly going to be in favor of like first trimester because I think there is enough leeway that you could easily go into a clinic and just get an abortion. And um, typically fetuses feel pain at around 15 to 20 weeks or so
I don't think pain is the
because
reason why we care about a human body.
not necessarily it's more about protecting the consciousness, but I also
Well,
feel
not
that
even
there
that.
might be a sort of
It's not even that.
sentience.
It's conscious
Yeah,
experience is what matters.
no.
Just
I think that also fits within conscious experience because in studies of twins at around 14 weeks, um, they started to show sort of some sort of sentience by moving around or holding hands or whatever inside the womb.
That's
So
what
I think,
sentience is?
well, not
It's
I
like
don't know what
if a
the word is,
vegetable
like
just managed to
sentience, but
grasp your hand, is that enough to dictate sentience in your mind?
um,
Like a muscle motion?
it's not necessarily
I
even
mean, I could cut
that.
a head off and a hand will grasp just out of muscle memory.
I just like doing it a bit at that point because I don't think there's that much utility to lose, if I'm going to be honest, because we can't tell what the true conscious experience is going to be at that point. But we should like protect
Well, I'll tell you
anything
my
that even
delineation
signals
point.
it. What is that? Is that 20 weeks?
Yeah, it's about 20 weeks. It's
Okay,
when
okay.
the
Or
spinal
fetal
cord
viability.
is physically connected to the brain, allowing for muscle motory movement. But even then, there's exceptions in the sense that if the mother's life is at stake, then yeetus the fetus.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree with that. In like the exceptions. But I think for if you actually look at the distributions of abortions, then you could realize that there's a lot of leeway that you're given. Um, because
So then
it's
you're in favor of late term.
I'm in favor of early term because there's a lot of leeway at like 13 weeks.
But
Like
but I'm
that's
I'm
going to
giving
be
like
like
late term
93%.
exemptions, and you seem
Oh
to
yeah, yeah.
be reciprocal to
I
them,
favor the
which would mean you're in
exceptions. Yeah,
favor of late term.
yeah, I favor the exceptions. Yeah.
Okay, I mean then at that point we don't disagree.
We disagree very slightly on the number um of weeks.
When's the
And I
cutoff for
also
you?
I said 13, right?
Why?
Because it's a very easy number that gives you a lot of leeway, but also protects the amount of like consciousness or things that are pretty close to consciousness or even certain types of brain development. I think that those matter, of course.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Because it protects both consciousness and this sort of like near consciousness where we can't even tell. So I just want to make like double sure
But
about
we don't
the
care if
future.
something is conscious. We care if it has a conscious experience. Like there's conscious beings that are effectively brain dead, right? We grant them less moral consideration. I don't like the idea where it's like consciousness alone is what matters. What matters
Well,
is if they can experience the world in a way.
well, I also don't want them to like feel pain or feel like other types of experiences where we
I
just
mean,
can't
people
know
feel
if they're
pain all the
just
time. And in fact, what if, for example, that we knew for a fact that a person would feel pain their entire life? Should we just end that person's life?
um
Probably not, right?
if they're going to be an eternal and very difficult pain, then you might as well do it. Like if it's going to be
Like
this sort of
if
like
they're like alive.
if they felt pain from the time they were
I
born
got
and it's
news
just
for you. If
severe
they do
pain.
not consent to that, then the answer is no to that.
Oh,
So like, I don't think
yeah.
pain is like the metric.
Well, if it's euthanasia, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, it just comes down to, again, it's a conscious experience, not consciousness alone.
Yeah. But I would also disagree with even the constitutionality of some of this stuff because um like I believe Planned Parenthood v. Casey was it didn't follow the proper due process rules, right? Because
Repeat that.
it seems like in Planned Parenthood v. Casey, which was like the case that came after Roe, um, it codified up to fetal viability, which is really weird because their excuse was due process, but that's not how you even use due process, right?
Okay.
The excuse was that
I mean,
I don't
I'll be
even know
honest, right?
because
Like
in Roe it
I don't
makes sense.
consider like the Supreme Court Like I don't already agree with the Republican backed Supreme Court, Republican elected Supreme Court. I think it's like a 8 or 9 seats, I think, total that are Republican.
It's about 6.
No,
6 out of 9.
Wrong. It's much more.
Let me look it up. Let me double check because it
so,
is. It
so
seems
like if a majority
9.
of Republicans, they all, who are in the Supreme Court, they all agree that it ought be left to the states. Do you believe that it ought be left to the states?
I think it should be left to the states up to like.
Really? You think that we should that states should decide whether or not that they want to discriminate against women?
No. In the case of Roe, though, I think it's a lot different because there is actually due process involved because it's an ability for, it's basically forcing women to give birth in this context, right?
Yeah.
And that
you think that states should be left up to them?
After 8 weeks, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I don't agree with that at all.
I would agree with that because there is some leeway between 0 and 8 weeks. But after 8 weeks, there's going to be a lot. It's basically very debatable at that point. And the only reason why Roe was even abolished was because it is, quote unquote, a debatable thing that ought to be left to the states.
Yeah, but the problem is that it comes down to, okay, so now because states can decide, that means it is up to theoretically either a politician or a Supreme Court representative of that state. A court representative of that state to decide whether or not that a woman ought be forced to undergo a potentially life-threatening condition, which is pregnancy, and permanently alter their body for the rest of their lives. And that should just be left up to that, right? To a politician or a Supreme Court judge.
After 8 weeks, I would say so because most abortions are before 8 weeks. I would say more than 50%. So you're basically able to shove in enough people.
But why 8 weeks? That's so young. That's so little.
Because that was the cutoff point for Roe.
Why?
It was in the 1970s. So
okay, but a piece of paper saying it ought be a thing is not a justification. Why? Why that piece of paper? I'll write on a piece of paper right now that says 2025. Now what?
Thing is, it's not about the weeks themselves. It's more about.
Of course it does. Wait, that matters greatly.
Yeah.
I'm in Florida. We have a piece of paper that says 6 weeks. Most women aren't even aware.
It's about the alternative choice of 24 weeks, which is fetal viability, which is much more up to debate than something like 8 or even 12 weeks, right?
Okay, but you were just arguing 8, right?
Yeah, I was arguing 8.
So I just want to be clear, right? What ought happen in your mind is in a specific state, if a politician or a Supreme Court judge 100 plus miles away, those are the ones that should decide who has to undergo a life-threatening condition. I just want to be clear, right? That's what you're arguing.
Yeah, I think it's the destiny of the people at that point.
No, that's actually not the destiny. If it was the destiny of the people, then that would that would be left up to the individual. That would be left up. If it was a destiny of the people, then every individual would get to decide, not a politician 100 miles away.
Individual federalism is the destiny of the people.
No.
Yes,
the
it is.
ultimate destiny of the people would be it would come down to an individual level, right? Not left up to a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away.
That's not really the destiny of the people. That's the obligation of individual.
Yeah, you're right. It's not correct. That's why I'm arguing that it's not a destiny of the people.
But that's also not destiny of the people because that's
what?
Supported by the states themselves.
Hold on. If I said If I lived in let's say a place where there is a lake or I don't know a river, and people could choose whether or not that they swim in the river, and then for whatever reason, just arbitrarily, let's say there's nothing wrong with the river. There's a politician that says you can't swim in the river.
You elected the politician, yeah.
That's
That
not
makes sense.
people's, but that's not people's choice. But hold on, there's elected
That's
politicians, and then there's people agreeing to said elected politician, right? Just because a politician got elected, that doesn't mean every person agrees with that, right?
Yeah, but you're more
Okay,
making the
so the ultimate
anti-democratic
decision of
argument
people,
that it's
so
like
the ultimate decision of people comes down to it would be an ultimate decision of people if it was left up to every individual as opposed to a single representative that chooses on behalf of the people.
by that point you're just making the like anti-democratic argument that oh my gosh it's
I'm not
subjugation of
anti-democracy,
the minority.
but I
Oh my gosh.
but I just don't believe that it is up to a politician to force a woman to undergo a potentially life-threatening condition and permanently change their body forever. I don't believe that's up to a politician. I really don't.
That's within their legislative ability, right? I would say so.
That's within
Because
their
it's not.
legislative ability. That doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
So hold on. If I just want to be clear, right? Let's say, for example, we say, "Hey, let's take all the transes and let's put them in a blender," right? And it's codified into law. We made a giant blender in the middle of town. Are you going to sit there and say, "Well, that's just the decision of the people"?
Yeah, it's the decision of the people within that state if it's going to be under the 10th Amendment.
Yeah, we're on completely different realms of imagination, right? If I had to guess, right, we probably don't want to live in a world where the 51% can take away the rights of the 49%, right? And I personally, I would be astonished to think that I think if you're on the receiving end, you likely would not argue in this extent, right?
I would be on the receiving end in that case.
What? Are you
But
trans?
still, yeah, kind of.
Okay, so if everybody says to the trans people, "Hey, we have to put you in a blender," right? You're to report to the blender emporium. You're gonna be like, "Well, that's the will of the people. Time to go."
It is the will of the people because the will of the people made the
No,
legislative
it's not.
branch
It's not
of
the
that-
will of
that state.
you.
It's the state
It's not
legislature.
the will of you, Ava. You don't want that,
Clearly the
right?
state
Do you
legislature,
want to be in a
and you
blender?
elected it.
No. Do you want to be in a blender?
But and there's obviously going to be like certain restrictions within the legislative power of what people
Stop.
have.
That's independent as to whether or not you want to be in a blender. Do you want to be in a blender? Yes or no?
Well,
No, right?
first off, was it decided
No.
by the state constitution that you could be able to do that?
Yeah, everybody voted on it. It's all proper. Yep. Yep. All trans people go in a blender. You cool with that?
Well, I would disagree with the state constitution, but it's well within the right of the state.
Okay. Do you think it ought be that way? If it was decided on that way, yes or no? Very simple.
Probably not ought to be that way.
Okay,
but
no
I think
shit. I agree with you. Yeah, when we have a revocation of people's basic rights, for example, I don't believe that women should be baby factories and forced to have children if they don't want to. I don't believe that just because it's codified into law to revoke basic rights doesn't mean therefore it's justified. We've both arrived to the same conclusion here.
I don't
That's
think it's necessarily
wild that you would
some
even
sort of
that it took that long
unethical.
to get to that point.
I don't think it's this extreme unethicality, though.
No,
to
it's
say-
extremely no. There's lots of things that are put in law that are extremely unethical. You're not going to sit here and argue that it's okay to say. You're probably not going to argue in favor of apartheid, right? It's fair to say that you wouldn't argue in favor of apartheid. That was legal. Apartheid's legal.
Probably not.
Okay, the Nazi purges were legal. We're not going to argue in favor of that, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. No.
Correct. So just because
But-
something is legal doesn't mean we ought do that thing.
But if it's entirely private institutions, then I would ultimately agree with it. But
What?
If it's state institutions.
No,
so.
stop. If the Nazi purges were done entirely privately, would you think it's therefore okay? No, right?
I would say it's a will of the people, because
a private institution decides to purge all the Jews. You're like, well, that's the will of the people.
It is a will of the people. That's how.
You're a psycho. You're a psycho. We're not even talking about voting at this point. You're talking about a private institution. What is happening? Are you just doing this for clicks?
Not really, honestly.
Then I don't understand. I don't understand where you're coming from. None of this makes any sense.
I like this ultra democratic sort of way.
You just argued against democracy just now.
Yeah.
So I'm lost.
But I like.
You just said you're ultra democratic, but now you're okay with a private institution deciding, hey. Hell, I mean, we have instances like this. We have the Nestle Corporation that decides to just arbitrarily lower the water table by consuming a crap ton of the water in the local population. And as a result, all of the locals don't have water. They now have to buy the water from Nestle. By your argument, you would say, well, that's just a will of the... No, what are you talking about? They're in Africa, loser. We paid off their government. What? It's a will of the people, right?
It is the will of the people. That's how.
How is that the will of the
people? I'm sort of arguing in this. So, how to say?
What is happening? What is this discussion?
Right. So, under neo-reactionary thought, businesses ought to have this sort of like power in like a small area, right?
No, you don't get to just skip forward. You don't skip forward from that, man.
Yeah.
How is that the will of the people? A private corporation arbitrarily lowers the water table. Nobody decided that.
Because the people are the ones that originally fund it, and they can easily boycott it if they disagree. And there's often no profit incentive to actually do that.
Well, the Nestle Corporation is already doing that. And just so you know, right, they take that product and then they send it overseas, and there's no benefit to the local population. In fact, there's a great detriment to that local population. Right? So that's not a will of the people. And guess what? The people don't have to support the Nestle Corporation, whatever, and it still happens. Right? Why? Because it's a multinational corporation. They make money across the globe. So like they have no incentive. They don't need to take care of that local population. There is zero will of the people. Why are you justifying this?
Will of the people doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be ethical, but that it works within some type of rationality, right?
Did I not just say that it is possible for the will of the people to do something unjust? I'm almost positive I said that. The Nazi purges were legal. Apartheid was legal. All sorts of horrible things were legal by democratic merit. I don't consider it to be right. So you sitting there bringing up the will of the people, that's not really an argument as to whether or not something is right or wrong. It's also not a very good justification for abortion.
I would say that's a bit better justification for it, probably, because it should be something that is left to democracy, because this is a very contentious issue, and so we wouldn't want.
Then you would be in favor of the trans people blender thing.
Yeah, if democracy decides it.
All right, good talk.
And
good talk.
I think
you and I. I think like your position is exceedingly idealistic. I think it is completely untenable. I also think that it leads to worse off outcomes. You and I are never going to agree on this. But if you're willing to die on that hill, enjoy that hill. I'm going to keep walking forward, and you just die on that hill. I don't know what else to tell you. That's wild.
That's also why I support like confederalism and all this stuff. Like,
yeah, I don't know what else you're in favor of, but if anybody else wants to talk into this, go ahead. Open floor.
Wait, I just got here. What? What did I just miss? I just got here.
Hello.
I argued for universal federalism. I think the states should really have a lot of power.
Do you believe what the founders taught, or are you taking their federalism to a whole new level?
Yeah.
I would say taking the federalism to a whole new level because it's me interpreting the Constitution in a very open way and then like extending this out to a very harsh degree because I love like the idea of like micronations and stuff like that too. Like I think the smaller a nation is, the more easy it is to regulate the people.
Possibly. I mean, why do you think there's a federal government, though? Don't you think that that's important?
Yeah.
I think the federal government should be extremely limited, and that the state government should do most of the things.
No, I think you need to say exactly what you just told me, right? Because what I asked them is said they were talking about the abortion argument, and they said, well, if it's in the will of the people to enforce that people can't get abortions, that's okay. And then I said, I don't believe that laws in and of themselves dictate what's right and wrong. So if people like vote to say, I don't know, take away trans rights, for example, hey, we all voted that all trans people go into a blender, right? And then they said, well, that would be okay because it's the will of the people. And I'm like,
well,
okay, but no, this gets even worse, right? This gets even worse because I asked them, okay, let's say, for example, the Nestle Corporation comes in, right? They said a private corporation is the will of the people. And I said, okay, so Nestle Corporation goes into the third world country and then they start extracting a crap ton of water, which lowers the overall water table. Because it lowers the overall water table, now nobody there gets water. And because nobody gets water, therefore, that's okay because that's the will of the people. They said yes to this. I don't know how to defend this. Like, you're a troll. You're a troll. You're not a real person.
No,
I refuse to believe that you're a real person.
I think that the issue is that just because the majority of people vote something in doesn't make it like objectively good. I mean, you could have a majority of people vote that murders.
I would say so, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that is. I mean, it's just not true that just democratically speaking, you can just democracy things into like being good ideas. That's probably not how policy works. Like, we need things like food, water, rights. Like the idea that corporations represent the people. I'm pro-capitalist. I'm very anti-Marxist, but I'm pretty sure that corporations don't like represent the will of the people. They're just like a market force, and they represent supply and demand at the very best. But they don't represent like the will of the people. I don't understand what your point.
People is how people are what make up businesses. That's how they get bigger, right?
Some people.
You're on the line with Amender. How you doing? Oh, suddenly hung up. Oh, hold on. Interesting.
Controversial. That's really... Amanda, I got a question for you.
It's just brutally stupid is what it is. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's like you just sit there and you break it down a little bit, and it's like, obviously, like, that's not something that we want to uphold. Like, obviously that leads off to monumentally terrible outcomes. Why would we want to uphold something that just leads to ridiculously stupid outcomes?
Because everyone is if people
everyone wants a free door giveaway.
I mean, I'll say one thing about the federalism thing. I think if you really want to give states that much independence, you might as well call it a confederation or just a bunch of independent countries.
No. Here's what we do. Here's what we do.
I also think cities should be.
No. Hey,
but I will say, like,
hold on. Pause for a second. Pause. Stop for a second. Stop for a second. Stop.
No, you stop. I wasn't finished. What the fuck?
You're on my show.
It was a state forest.
Stop for a second.
Your show. I just want to talking.
So.
I respect you talking.
I just want to try this out, right? I want to do a vote. I want everybody to vote in side chat. We're gonna do a vote, right? Here we go. We're gonna create a poll, right?
I don't know.
AVA. All right, hold on.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Alright, right, everybody vote right now. Everybody vote.
First Amender, are you a bisexual
right,
man
here we
because
go.
the vote?
Here we go.
poll
Here
is
we
at
go. Here we go.
100% yes?
We're just going to do this right here. So, AVA believes that the will of the people should believes in the will of the people. Should the will of the people donate to me $100 so that I donate to everyone in chat? So basically, what I'm asking is, everybody vote yes. Yes, you guys want money, right?
Nobody vote.
You guys hit yes and want money, right? Then that means Ava has to give me $100 so that way I can donate it to everybody in chat. All right. Let's do the will of the people, right, guys? Like, do you guys want money? Do you guys want money? If you guys want money, vote yes. If you don't want money, then no. Right? Very simple. Right? Just vote.
Are
and if
you
a majority
trying to say
of people,
that the federal government
right?
provides money?
I'm just curious, right? If a majority of people in this chat, right, want money, then Ava, right? If you adhere to your argument, right, then what you should do is pay me $100 so that way I can donate to every single one of these people. What is it, like $5-10? Assuming there's 10 people here, right? Except for you, of course, Ava, because you got to be the one donating. It's the will of the people. Why don't you do it?
But what if I want all 100?
No. I want everybody. Go ahead. Everybody don't.
But you're not letting me expand on my thought a bit more.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I have a
We got a total of 10.
question.
Come on, one more vote. One more vote.
Yarvin.
Last one. Whoever's in here who hasn't voted,
I'm not
vote here.
voting
You
'cause I
guys
don't
want
wanna
free
steal
money?
from anybody.
Okay, all right.
Now here's the thing.
So hold on. Here's the problem, right? It's a 5-4 vote. So Ava, you pay me $100, right? And I'm going to give each and every person here an equivocal amount of money because it's the will of the people. Now donate. Go for it. All you. Donate. Show me. Show me that you actually adhere to your position. No, it's already the will of the people, Ava. We're done. You've already lost. So now what you have to do is give me a $100 donation. I will give every single person in here an equivocal amount of money divided of the people who are in here. Go ahead. Now you got to give me money.
Okay,
Go for it.
Amanda, hold on. But this seems like kind of unfair how you're representing.
Yeah, no
this.
shit, it's unfair. No shit, it's unfair. No
the way
shit.
You're representing
That's
it.
the
This
point.
isn't a one-to-one to a city,
a
a fucking government and a city like running something, right? You're in a VC on Discord. Like this isn't.
What? It's the will of the people. What am I supposed to do? It's their morality, not mine.
Look, I think it's a shitty government
Now what?
system as well. Okay, but this is an unfair representation.
No, it's a hilarious way to present this. It's perfect. It's exactly what Ava would not want, where a group of people push against Ava and then obviously take away the rights of Ava. But according to their morality, that's the will of the people. You must do that thing. Do you think that's correct, Ava?
I think it's correct in this very micro level. Like if you have a ton of cities,
all right, Ava, I'm waiting for my $100.
Micro areas, and some of them could even be private, where it's like majority
Ava,
system.
give me $100
within a Hoppian lens, or
Ava, give me $100.
Private lens where you have
Ava,
a private
stop
city.
talking. Give me $100.
Dude, fuck, man. Can we finish the?
But it's not just majority rule too.
Well,
It's
no, but that's
also gonna
literally
be
what this
majority.
is, isn't it? It's the will of the people. The people have willed that you have to reduce your monetary amount by $100. Give it to me so that way I can disperse it amongst the people.
It's majority rule within a limited area where you can obviously move, and that's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, you could obviously leave this VC, right? But you're not leaving the VC. What happened? Why aren't you upholding to your position?
That's not really what I'm saying, but whatever. There's obviously going to be a
It's
democratic
for the will of the
protection. There's
people.
obviously going to be a constitutional protection too. There's obviously going to be like private barriers that influence people. There's going to be
wait, are you saying that there are some constitutionally protected rights that are independent of people's votes? No fucking shit. We figured it out.
And this is decided by a bipartisan area.
That is freaking wild. I love it. Amazing.
course,
You actually
there's
got
going
to
to
the
be a state
same conclusion that I
constitution
did.
for that.
Thank you.
There's
You
going
got
to
to
be a
the
state
same exact
constitution
conclusion as me.
within
Jesus.
my
This is brutally
belief in
stupid.
abortion. and that's literally why I
Yeah.
said.
So I
Hey, there's
believe
going to be
that
due
a
process after some
constitutionally
point.
protected right is, I don't believe that a person should have to undergo a life-threatening procedure and permanently change their body just because a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away got elected to enforcing that. I think it's wrong. Okay.
there's still going to be,
and
like, a loose
you
interpretation
saying
in
that
between
there
there.
ought to be constitutionally protected rights, this would be something that I would consider ought be constitutionally protected. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and I wasn't even saying that that democracy is always justified, because there are going to be some protections in between there, obviously. But
So then the argument of your
states
abortion
should
argument
be-
falls on its face.
no, because this is not within the constitutional level of these states, right?
What?
Because
no,
it's not
because
protected by due
you
process
argued
necessarily.
that it was the will of the people. Obviously, there ought be things be. So if it was constitutionally protected, you would consider it to be right. You would just 100% 180 on it.
Well, if it's like not in the state constitution, then I would say that
Fucking wild. What is going on with my game?
if it's not within like federal or state constitutions, then it's wrong. But if it's still voted on, then it's right.
I think that you need to
Although the Constitution
rethink your
should be
entire
limited.
system on how this works. But go ahead, open floor. Sorry, go ahead, Penguin.
What? I wasn't even saying anything. What the fuck?
I was saying that because I interrupted you prior.
Amender, that was like 10 minutes ago.
All right, then we're done. Good talk. That was wild.
Amender,
God.
I was finishing what I was saying when you interrupted me, and then I was just done. And
Oh.
yeah, bro.
It's an open floor if anybody wants to have a discussion.
Chicken jockey?
So about that free door giveaway,
They got to donate $100, and then I'll
but-
give it to everybody. I would have too. I would have
$100 you
DM'd
buy
everybody.
everyone
I said
door.
I would send them a $10 Amazon gift card.
You know what I could do with $10? I could buy a big tub of M&Ms. Okay, that could last me a month or two, right? Like, have you seen how big those big tubs of M&Ms are? We're talking like 100, like like the equivalent of 100 packets.
That's funny.
Okay, I tell you,
You'll tell me.
and the
It's
price
against the rules of the
butter
server,
these
and this is
days-
just like the Constitution, so whatever.
What are you even on about, Mister? I feel like you just want to tickle my pickle.
What the fuck? Hello?
Yeah,
That
that's
would not be so.
in case you didn't know. That's like in reference to his dick.
Rain
Echo, I don't
says
know if you knew
Ava
that.
thinking
What
that
the
laws
fuck?
equals morally right and wrong is insane. I completely agree. I think
Did
anybody
you know
can come to that
gherkin
conclusion.
means pickle in German?
What
What'd you
does?
say?
I don't believe
Gherkin.
laws equal morality. What?
Hold. First form or what? First form or what?
Gherkins.
Ever, bitch. Shut the fuck up.
That's the word for
Oh.
cucumber, not pickle.
Chill on the curse words.
You see, this is why I don't curse. I'm a good boy. So,
Wait, is that
you
actually
like-
that actually affects monetary stuff?
Being a good
I
boy?
don't know, but usually what I do is I just try to
I'm
make
sorry.
it as clean as possible for people, so that way there's no issues.
Do you check for kids or no?
No, I mean I said that this stream is not for kids, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yes.
I feel like curse words. I don't know. I haven't read through the whole TOS, but it seems like something that shouldn't be striking anybody's channels.
You never know.
Yeah. No, I get the hesitation. I'm more saying if YouTube's actually doing that, that would be kind of messed up.
That would be quite messed up.
I don't know. It's different for every single like stream platform. So I just say don't curse. That's all.
Hard request for a group full of guys in Discord.
I mean, I'll just voice ban you if you can't follow basic decorum.
Actually, I'm transgender.
Good one.
I actually use the word guys as a gender neutral category. For all
That
the
you're
people
assuming
on
gender, that is like so offensive, and I'm acting like Quinny right now.
Don't even remind me of Quinny.
Oh
I
my
know,
god.
right? I could put on the accent and talk like Quinny, you know, with that
Please
accent.
don't. Please don't.
Buddy,
Oh my god, do you not want to talk about like gay furry porn and stuff like that, bro? You
So,
Ulster
oh my god.
nationalist.
Oh my god, so based. I'm swaying right now. Oh my
I
god.
could even
So,
go a
I-
little
I
bit
have a
lighter
question
on the
for
voice
First
if you really
Amender.
want. I could turn you on.
What
and
you
do
got?
Great things for you.
What the fuck?
So this is about the
Left-hand.
abortion thing.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Abortion?
So the thing about your the thing that like I'm questioning is that when you're talking about pregnancy, like you seem to talk about it like if it's like cancer, like it's this disease. And
Yeah,
so I'm just
pregnancy
curious,
is a life.
why do you view it like that?
Because it is potentially life-threatening and permanently changes your body forever.
The thing is, it's going to actually make another life. So
Let's just
both
have
our
cool
lives are
one
equally valued
VC.
in
I
this
want to hear
scenario.
cool. We're Ava. We've had the discussion. Let's let cool go in.
Okay, well, is it pretty much a coin toss that if a woman gets pregnant, there's a good chance that it's going to be life-threatening?
It's roughly a 10% chance of potentially life-threatening. Yes,
Well, 10%. I mean, that's kind of a small percentage, no?
that's not a small percentage. That's a very large percentage.
So, according to
Right?
10%.
And that's by the way with hospital assistance. That
Wait,
it
you
can at
said
least be lowered
10%?
from 10% down to like about 2%. But the reality is that it is life-threatening, and it also doesn't take into account that it permanently affects the body forever, and that never
What's
returns.
life-threatening?
That's in
Wait.
any.
where do you get that statistic?
And that's 100% chance, right?
no. Wait,
Yes.
wait, hold on. Where do you get that statistic? That it was like 2% even.
Birth mortality.
Because it's not even close. I'm looking
For
at the
abortion?
CDC report right now. No, for pregnancy fatalities, right? Like pregnancies ending in fatalities.
No,
The
he didn't
CDC
say
reported
ending
it
in
as-
fatalities. He said life-threatening.
Well, that's what he means by ending in fatality.
That doesn't mean it
Come on,
necessarily
bro.
ends in
No,
fatality.
he said
it just
10%.
means there's a risk of.
He said 10. Stop talking. He said it has a risk of fatality. Then he said that it has a 10% result, which would insinuate that he means that 10% of pregnancies end in death. So if we
Why don't
can
you clear it
move
up,
on with the
Amender?
conversation, so I'm looking at the CDC.
You
report
understand
right
risk
now.
to
The-
fatality does
Stop
not equal
talking.
death,
Stop fucking
right?
talking.
It
Stop
equals
it.
risk
Stop
of death.
f-bombing. Like, dude, just be like
The
a
maternal
like
mortality rate in the United States as of 2022 was 22 in 100,000 live births. That's live births. That's not considering all births. That's not considering C-section operations. That's not considering anything else. That is live births. C-sections significantly reduce the likelihood of it
Yeah,
going
you
fatal.
doing? Are you doing a
And-
C-section at your house?
What are you talking about?
Are you doing a C-section at your house?
It
What are
wouldn't
you
really
ta-
be relevant
what-
to the conversation, to be fair. So
Yeah, what
Okay.
that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. You
So-
made a claim.
So if I
that
so I
the
can
mortality
provide
rate-
you here, right? Like here, I'll provide a source. Hold on. If you're looking at my stream, most pregnancies progress without incident, but approximately 8% of all pregnancies involve complications that, if left untreated, may harm the mother or the baby. While some complications relate to health problems that existed before pregnancies, others occur unexpectedly or unavoidable.
Right. So number one, I'm just gonna say, the source that you provided is not nowhere near as credible as the source that I provided. Mine is the CDC.
This is
Number
the
two,
HopkinsMedicine.org.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it not credible?
Mine is the
You
CDC,
didn't
the
even
United
see-
States government, right?
Okay,
So,
fair enough. Hopkins Medicine is an authoritative body.
It kind of misses the bigger point, though.
Let's look at if it.
All right. So the bigger point.
Doesn't provide
the bigger point
resource.
is that it is potentially life-threatening, and you're not even aware that it's life-threatening until it is. And so, personally, yeah, that is the case. Personally, the way that I feel about it is that I think that ought be left up to the individual to decide the individual risks that come across during pregnancy. There's a lot of different complications that happen, and I just believe that ought be a discussion between the doctor and the mother, and not a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away or a Supreme Court representative. Right? That's how I feel.
I didn't even get to finish the point that I made before you asked me about giving C-sections in my
No, you asked for a source, and I've provided you a source.
Right, let me finish what I'm saying. I let you speak about your source. I let you speak about whatever. So the point that I was bringing up is that the percentage of mortality rate for pregnancies in the United States as of 2022 is 22.3 deaths per 100,000 live births. That's not including C-sections. That's not anything else, right? It's live births. And again, C-sections significantly reduce the mortality rate of pregnancies.
Yes.
But not only that, the cause for the large majority of pregnancies that end in a mortality rate is infections, right? So that is if the mother has an infection in her system that causes complications within the mother's pregnancy. That's why that it's deducible whether or not the pregnancy will cause harm to the mother. We can test whether or not she has infections. We can test all these things, right? It's when somebody goes in unknowing that they have an infection that they have a 50% chance, or, well, according to how many deaths from pregnancies, like the cause for them, it is 48% of all mortal pregnancies, right? Pregnancies resulting in fatality, the root cause for that mortality is infection. So if you have an infection, you are 48% more likely to die during your pregnancy. So we can deduce whether or not this pregnancy is probably going to be fatal. And even then, it is significantly low. It is a significantly low likelihood of them dying.
Thank you. We believe it somewhere south of, since no one.
So are you saying, therefore, women ought have children, even though that they don't want to have children?
Said that. That's a logical.
Just don't call it a disease. Just don't call it a disease.
What I did is I asked, do you think we ought? That's what I asked. I didn't say you said that. I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm saying. What I said is, do you think that women ought have children knowing those facts?
What does that mean?
Is a very, very,
should they be forced to have children based on the fact that it is relatively low risk?
That has nothing to do with the conversation.
What do you mean?
If we're talking about abortions, and
I am talking about abortions, whether or not it should be that a person should have a right to an abortion.
He means forced as in like forced to carry is what he means. Like to term.
I don't think
not
abortion should be utilized in
those very rare instances. No.
Let me finish what I'm saying. I don't think that abortion should be utilized in.
Also, I never referred to it as a disease, FYI.
You act like it's a disease.
I said that it is a potentially life-threatening procedure.
No,
I said, cool, stop. I said it's a potentially life-threatening procedure. And then I also said it is that it permanently changes their body forever, and it never comes back. All of that of what I said is true. I would be willing to tell you that maybe 10% is a hyperbole. Maybe it's 7 or 8%. That's beside the point.
Way less than 7 or 8%. It's way less than that. It's significantly less than that. That's
I'm sorry. Let me go back to here.
No, that's like me saying
where I
listed
the source.
No, your source.
Most pregnancies progress without incident, but because you're referring to mortality, not necessarily complications. It is because of our hospital system. Echo, please.
This is what I was trying to tell you all along. He was talking about potential fatal, right? He wasn't saying mortality rate.
No. Potentially fatal. potentially fatal and having complications are two entirely different things. I could have a complication in walking because I stubbed my fucking pinky toe, right? I could have a complication in moving my hand because
that's
I
fine.
worked
That's
out too.
fine. But you still tried to box him into mortality rate.
I'm still making a point.
Not potential mortality rate.
I'm still making a point. I could have hindrances or complications in me going to work tomorrow because I overdid it at the gym. That doesn't mean that what I did at the gym is potentially fatal. That they are nowhere near.
That's a great example. Do you think that we should force people to go to the gym?
Not even close.
Not even close, right? Yeah, because I think it should be left up to individuals to make that decision.
Not even close to a comparison.
So like if there's something that has an inherent risk, in my mind, I believe that should be left up to that individual to make that decision. Very simple.
First, Amender, are you aware of the violinist argument? Because in that argument, I would still support forcing me to give blood or to give my life for someone else. That's how pro-life we are. So I don't think you understand how.
I don't usually use the violinist. It's an interesting concept, but I don't really like. It's not that big of a deal to me. I think that when you consider that the autonomy of the mother is obviously greater than that of the fetus, we have to acknowledge that the mother is the one that has to undergo that. I just don't believe that it ought be up to a politician that, let's face it, they're never going to take care of that child, nor is the Supreme Court representative. And in fact, it's quite often that these right-wing Supreme Court representatives and Republicans themselves, that they'll get some random person pregnant and they'll seek that abortion right away. But as soon as that it's someone else, for whatever reason, they don't have that choice. I personally believe that it ought to be up to that individual to make that decision for themselves, not up to a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away. To me, that's very simple. It's a simple bodily autonomy argument.
Everyone on the planet could be a hypocrite, but you still want to save as most lives as possible. That's the pro-life position. We're trying to save everybody's life, the mother and the baby, not privilege one life over the other, the mother versus the baby. It's not a competition for us, and I don't care who's hypocritical. It doesn't change the argument.
All right,
right?
Great argument. Now I'm going to present you something. There's a burning building.
Yeah. By the way,
there's a stop. There's a burning building. There's a burning building. You've got you only have the option to save one or the other in the burning building. There is a tray of 100 fetuses. They're about to be inseminated into a woman. Each and every one of there's 100 of them, right? A whole tray of them, right? They're ready to go. And then the other one is a literal baby. What are you saving?
I would die trying to save both, man.
Nope. You pick one or the other. There must be one or the other. Pick one.
It's not going to work here. Nope.
No, you're not operating in the hypothetical. One is in one side of the room, and the other is the other side of the room. You can only pick one in time. There's not enough time. Roof's caving in. Pick one.
I can't be forced.
Pick one, dude.
Lives are equal.
Pick one.
He's saying he would die, Amender. He's saying he would die. So that is a choice.
All right, his choice is both of them die. Cool, amazing. Yeah, I don't live in that society. I got news for you, man. I'm picking the literal baby, bro. The baby is obviously. I don't care if that tray is 100 fetuses. I don't care if it's 1,000 fetuses. I'm picking the baby. I'm sorry, it's not even close.
So if you're super pro-life,
wild,
right? Why would you make the choice, the worst choice for the most amount of life in that situation?
Because I'd rather give my own life than see anyone else's taken away.
Oh, but you're giving all of the lives. All of the fetuses are dying, the baby's dying, and you're dying. All of the life is dying.
I think I could.
Yeah,
you're trying to, but it's ending in all of your death.
The fact that you are floundering on this makes me realize that you need to think over your worldview a little longer. It's very clear to me because like nobody would say, okay, everybody dies, even though you want to save the most amount of lives possible. Obviously, if you literally believed in saving the most amount of lives possible, you would pick the petri dish full of fetuses. I'm sorry, the tray full of fetuses over the literal baby. But obviously, that's a problem, isn't it? Obviously, you value the life of the baby over 100 fetuses. Obviously. It's a living being as opposed to like, I don't know, a bunch of freaking fetuses that within the next couple of months, you could get you can get more, but you're not making another baby in a couple months, and you're not making the same baby in a couple months. You're not making that same baby ever. That's never going to happen.
I'm not going to commit.
So it's stupid. What a dumb argument.
That's
dumb.
The exact same reason
make another baby ever if you're pro killing it in the womb.
This is so important. This is so important. Do you have the guts to say that to somebody who just suffered a miscarriage? Do you have the guts to say that to them?
What? I say that to people all the time. I'm sitting here on YouTube, my dude. There's all sorts of people that live different lives. I think that ought be up to the decision of an individual that has to undergo that, not a politician or a Supreme Court representative 100 to 1,000 miles away. It's completely ridiculous. That is ultimately what the argument is of these right-wingers, right? It's not about saving a life, because if it was about saving a life, then they would be in favor of child protection acts, such as like, I don't know, food stamps or like child. No, but yeah, it's a left-wing talking point. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Okay, just because it's a left-wing talking point doesn't mean it's wrong. The reality is that it's not about saving the life of the child. What it's about is control. It's looking at women as baby factories. It's saying that you do not have bodily autonomy. It's only under the bodily autonomy of. It has nothing to do with bodily autonomy. And just so you know, just so you're aware, your Bible doesn't actually make an argument in favor of pro-life. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's so stupid.
I want to say something.
Fucking wild.
Wild.
Can I ask you a question? For some members?
I said that I wanted to say something. So once for a moment finish. So
you're not going to
hold on.
I said just to be clear, and then Echo. Can I have 10 seconds?
I'm not
the basic bioethicists, right? That we're talking about, like basic bioethics, I should say, right? And this idea that the hypothetical still holds true, even though none of us would have the guts to say, hey, we're not going to save lives that are to us a petri dish, but if you just went through, I don't know, a miscarriage, like, I guess that sucks for you, but like, I don't consider it a life. That's pathetic. Nobody takes that seriously. That's just bad. I'm sorry. That's so bad faith. Like that life that person lost through a miscarriage, even if it's only after 1 week, that's still a human life. That's why they're grieving. We're not going to make the same analogy to someone who just went through that.
I can make a similar emotional.
I think I could. I called after. Yeah, this is just a dumb. Correct. This is just a dumb appeal to emotion. It doesn't actually have an argument. It's just saying, "Oh, my emotions." And that's it. I'm not emotional. I've presented to you a logical argument.
Not you.
And obviously,
who just went through a miscarriage is just being emotional and not having a rational response to the
look, bruh, saying an appeal to emotion.
Also, FYI, you can just make more fetuses. You could just make more fetuses. It's not a big deal. You can't make another human. Like, you're not going to be able to make the same exact human. Like, if I killed somebody and be like, oh, just make another human, obviously that's not the same. You just lost, like, a person, right? It's a completely different scenario as opposed to losing the petri dishes. Obviously, I'm going to favor the life of the literal baby over the 100 fetuses. It's just stupid.
Dehumanizing.
Those 100 people that you're talking about are irreplaceable. You can't just kill them. Are you kidding me? No,
what? Yeah, they are. You just go harvest more fetuses. It's not a big deal.
Oh my gosh! Listen to this.
Yeah, that's how that works. Like, wait! I loved that egg. I needed that egg, not this other egg. What are you, stupid?
It's going to be a future life. It's going to be a future timeline.
This is ridiculous. Yeah, it's just stupid.
Can I say what I called for now? Can I say what I called for, please?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah.
So, number one, you saying, okay, well, all these people who are pro-lifers, they're not pro-life because they want to save the baby. They're doing it because they want control over the mother. The logic that you're utilizing right there, I could turn around against you and say all pro-choicers, they don't want people to have bodily autonomy. They are just baby murdering sociopaths who just want to genocide all babies. I could say that exact same thing and it would make the exact same amount of sense as the stuff coming out of your mouth. right? Another
Whoa,
thing,
dude, Base, you're right. I want to kill as many babies as possible. As many babies as possible? Man, if only I can kill as many. What the heck are you talking about? I'm talking about a person can decide. They can decide. Echo, not we force all people to undergo abortions. They can decide if they want to undergo that.
And we
What
don't
a
want to
huge
force people
difference.
to pregnancies either.
What
We don't wanna do
yes,
that.
you are.
No one's
That's
arguing
literally
for
what the anti-abortion argument is. It is forcing
No,
women
it's
to go into
not.
abortion or to go into birth when they don't want that. That's the problem. That's why they sit there and they have to cross multiple states to even get to their. No, it's not. That's the argument. That's what actually is happening.
One point
So
that I
stupid.
made in this argument, or that Bruh Moment made as well. Give me one that insinuated that at all.
You are
Give
making
me
justifications.
One singular point.
You are making justifications as to why that abortions ought not happen. That's why I asked you, do you believe in blankety blank? That's exactly what I did.
Do you know
Right?
what I told you, First Amender? Do you know what I told you? I said that I believed that abortion should not be utilized as a contraceptive. That's what I said. I didn't say that all women should be forced to carry their pregnancies to
I don't think it
term.
matters. I think it just should still be up to the addition to the person.
I didn't say that all women should not have the right to their bodily autonomy.
not a
I didn't say
contraceptive by definition.
anything.
Okay,
that
so
insinuated
just curious,
that in
if it is
any
not
way.
used for hold on, let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this, right? Let's assume that you're consistent here. I'm sure you're going to be very consistent. So if a person, they accidentally got pregnant, right? And they're having second thoughts about having that child. And they wait until, I don't know, the 18th week. And then they go, you know what? I don't think I'm ready for this. I'm not going to have the child. They're not using it as a contraceptive. They're just using it because they say, I'm not ready for a child. Can they have an abortion? Yes or no?
No.
That is objectively a contraceptive.
Hell no.
But they didn't
That
use
is
it as a
very
contraceptive.
What are you using? What are you talking about?
That is objectively
You could just put it in an adoption center or whatever like that.
No, but you have to undergo that pregnancy. That's the problem. That's the issue.
I
Right? If we
wanna-
could
I
pull
really
out
wanna
the
raise
baby
it back
magically
up.
and then they
I
don't
do-
have to
I
undergo
wanna-
the life-threatening
wanna hold
operation,
it
then that would be one thing. But they don't have that option. They have to
I wanna
undergo
hone
the
on
pregnancy.
fact
My doctor
that you just said that
guys,
that
just
wasn't
keep in
a
mind that if your
contraceptive
doctor
method.
says-
I
as long as your
really
doctor
want to
says
focus
you're
on that
allowed to
because I don't think you know
Sarah
what
Devil is waving.
contraceptive means.
Sarah Devil
Yeah, you
is
shouldn't
speaking.
kill someone just to like. You could easily put it in an adoption center, right? Like, you shouldn't kill someone just to prevent like a future birth because you could just send that future birth inside.
Ava,
Like,
with all due respect, you just sat there and argued that the will of the people is literally the Nestle Corporation coming in and destroying like their water table, and that's okay with you because that's the will of the people. With all due respect,
Yeah, it is.
I do not consider you to be an authority, like anywhere close to be taken seriously. So I'm going to let Sarah go. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, very nice.
Okay. Okay, we would not be even having this topic about abortions if we, a long time ago, made a prerogative to raise more responsible youth to make more responsible choices and decisions in their life. None of that. If we also if we also enforced laws that protected people from rape properly, and had a better mental health care system, we would not be having this topic because at the end of the day, it all comes down to your actions and your choices. Like literally, that's what it comes down to. Someone made the choice to go out and have
Amender.
unprotected
I agree.
You told me
Shut
to
the
hold the
fuck up,
VC.
dude.
You didn't even tell me that you
having
were
this
done.
argument.
I was literally holding the VC for
Yeah,
you,
this
bro.
is actually the most base points here because anybody who cares about abortion at all should care about sex education and raising the next generation to be responsible with their bodies.
Advocating for better.
Name a Republican politician who wants to get rid of condoms. Name one. Name one. Name one, and I'll pay you $1,000. Name one.
What? What do you mean? What the fuck? Why would you say? Where in here was I saying that Republicans wanted to take away condoms?
Well,
How
that's
did you
very
get that
important
from
because
what
we
I
do
said?
agree on this. I was worried because there's so many bad faith arguments going around that we were going to have a debate about whether or not politicians are trying to get rid of contraception. Thank God it doesn't have to go in that direction.
No, I can. So not condoms specifically, but I've definitely heard conservatives make arguments to get rid of contraceptives, like aside from condoms.
Also, FYI, a contraceptive
even
is
disagree
not.
with that.
FYI,
I
just
have
so
two
you're aware.
condoms in the
Just
drawer
so you're
right
aware,
next to me.
Echo.
I
Hey,
don't
Echo,
care.
stop. Just so you're aware, abortion is not considered a contraceptive, right? Contraception is specifically done to prevent a pregnancy from occurring. Abortion is a medical procedure that terminates an existing pregnancy. So it is not a contraceptive. So
But if
your
you make
contraceptive
bad
argument doesn't even hold
choices,
water.
those choices. If you
And
make
just
a
so that
bad
we're clear,
choice,
every
you should
single-
live with that choice.
Yeah.
Be responsible. Grow
Every
up.
single-
Yeah,
Every
no,
single
that's true. I agree with Sarah.
Every single natural miscarriage that has ever happened is a death. That's how seriously we should take this conversation, because there are natural miscarriages too. There are natural.
So do we
what some
investigate
people might
every
call-
single miscarriage?
No, you just gotta. Honestly, if you find out that it happens, live with the sorrow in your heart that a human being died. Maybe have some like empathy, right? I mean,
Well,
these
if
are
it's
people- we
really
have,
that big of a
like-
deal, though, shouldn't we
Should
be
investigate,
opening
right?
investigations into murders? Because we should be figuring out if these women were purposefully like punching their bellies or taking medicine that forced this abortion, right? We need to investigate if there was premeditation.
It would be
No, that's
very
actually a very
easy
good
to tell.
biological
It would
question,
be
but
very
I
easy
cannot
to
im-
tell.
That's not the question.
Echo,
The question
that's
is
telling me that the
ought-
answer is
yeah,
yes,
The
we
answer
should
would be yes
investigate.
Well,
if that's
there
your
would
argument.
need to
That's
be no
wild.
investigation.
That's
I do
wild.
not
listen-
believe.
Listen to me.
I do
listen to
not
me.
believe that
That's
women should be
psychotic.
prosecuted for any.
Y'all are
I do
monsters.
not
No,
believe-
that's
I do
not
believe that women-
insinuating that there would need to be an investigation. So this is
Then
the
ought there be an
equivalent-
investigation? Answer
Can you
Casey's
shut up?
question.
For
Can you shut up?
natural miscarriages. For
Answer
natural
Casey's
miscarriages where there's
question.
no-
So listen to the words that are coming from my mouth right now, and
Echo,
you will
Echo,
understand.
Echo, you're not gonna talk
Let
to me that way.
speak, and let me make
Nope,
my.
you're not going to talk to me that way. You take
Wait,
that
Then let me
back.
make my
We're
point.
done.
Then let me make my point.
All right, good talk.
If it's a bit suspicious,
Good talk.
yes, we
Obviously
should
incapable of
investigate
having
it.
a conversation. I'm just going to remove you if you're going to just come in super antagonistic like that and talk down to me like that. I'm not going to tolerate it.
Well, bruh, do you want to go ahead and respond to that question then?
Well, the question about whether or not like women should be at random prosecuted in the
No,
case
it's
that
not
there
at
might be
random.
unnatural-
No, it's like a murder
kind of is
case, right?
There's
we
a
need to figure
miscarriage,
out
we
if
ought to
there was
investigate.
premeditation or if it was just a natural miscarriage.
Okay. If somebody is dead because of a lightning strike, is my first assumption to do an investigation because someone might have pointed a lightning rod at them? Like might
No,
have?
that's
like
no, that's not a
No,
good
that's-
example because that doesn't involve
is a great
another
example.
human
I mean, technically
being,
speaking,
right?
they would. Hold on. If there was a lightning strike and someone is like found dead, there would be an investigation. So I'm asking you, like, regarding a miscarriage, ought there be an investigation?
Yeah, in fact, bro, the better example
that
would
if
be
they
like
found out that it was
a heart attack, cardiac arrest, you know, that happened alone at home with someone's wife. Like if I had a cardiac arrest, they might investigate what was in my system, right? If there was any drugs, because that
no,
could
only if it
implicate.
appears to be suspicious. I mean, we're talking about culprits, right? So only if there were to be some sign of suspicion would you search for a culprit. But there are
If it
natural
appears
deaths that don't need it.
suspicious.
Like what is up with this argument, guys?
Every
Like,
death is investigated. Like every death of a person is generally investigated, and usually it's
But if
pretty
there's no
quick.
cause for suspicion, they're going to drop any. They're not even going to press charges if there's no drop of suspicion. If there's no sign of a culprit.
suspicion
Yes,
of
but
foul
there's still
play,
an
there's no
investigation. The
suspicion.
question is, ought there be investigations for every single miscarriage? Simple.
It depends on what you mean by investigation. Like every death does have
We
investigation.
check
but
on the
pressing charges-
person.
They do. Every single
Against which
miscarriage, they
culprit?
do an investigation.
No,
you go to
they
your
don't.
doctor, they examine you, they figure out what went
Yeah, but
wrong.
it's not a
and if it
detective.
appears
It's a doctor.
suspicious and self-inflicted,
It's a
they
doctor.
actually usually do call the cops.
You're telling me that a doctor calls the cops, reporting a miscarriage? Are you serious?
They do up here.
No, they don't.
If it seems suspicious, if they find bruising on the abdominal area, signs of trauma,
That's
or anything
different.
like
I'm
that,
talking about
they
a
do-
miscarriage.
Yeah.
No, but they do actually do a medical examination, which is an investigation. And
That's
if they
the
find
doctor.
anything
We're referring to
suspicious
law
during the
enforcement, not a doctor, and not a doctor seeing if you're okay.
Right, but
Okay,
in this
Sarah,
we're talking
Where all
Sarah,
investigations
so do they,
start in death with a medical examination. If the
Sarah,
medical
do they
examination
investigate?
does not come back with any
just insane.
suspiciousness, then it's written off. But if there's suspicion in the medical examination, then the police and the law enforcement step in to
Yes.
further investigate.
Do they
But all
investigate
deaths
the woman's
start
diet
with
if there's
a
no
medical
bruises?
examination.
Do they investigate the woman's
they're
diet
not
if
gonna-
there was no bruises?
That proves our point that they're not going to go up an endless tree of investigation. They're going to stop
Why
at some
though?
reasonable point.
Why wouldn't
Point.
you?
Your point, right? So your default mode.
Women
would
could
probably be to
easily just take some food
coat
that's
hanger.
poisonous to a fetus and just have abortions on their own, right? So why would you not investigate that?
Do you think that is? Do you have any default reason why that should be happening? Like that the vast majority of women by default who are having miscarriages are
No,
poisoning?
we're not.
No.
That's why we argue in favor of abortion. That's one
I'm saying
in the
if you're
laundry
yeah.
list of examples as to why we're in favor of abortion. We think it ought be up to an individual. But if you argue against abortions, then this is what you ultimately derive
bruh,
to
let me
based
put
on
it this
your
way.
worldview.
Bro, let me
Jesus.
put it this way. There
Walk me
is
through that.
actually
Walk
an
me through
herbal
that
tea
exactly.
that you can brew on your own. You can get herbs and brew a tea that will make you have an abortion, right? So if we make abortion illegal, let's say, hypothetically, right? Why would we not investigate if women are like taking these teas or not? Like, don't you think that women are going to resort to things like that if abortion is illegal?
So that's actually a decent argument. We finally have a good faith argument. So thank you for that. Like, if
This,
you're talking
this
about
is the argument I've been
law,
making. That you would want to investigate every single miscarriage. So yeah. So the answer is yes.
Under a world where it was already illegal, you would want to do an investigation maybe on some miscarriages where there's signs of suspicion for sure. Would you press charges? Would you press
There's
charges?
gonna be
I
no
think-
signs. There's gonna be no
Psychotic.
signs of suspicion about a T. Like there's gonna be no signs of suspicion. It's gonna look
that case,
completely
that
like a
takes-
natural miscarriage.
Not every single death is going to have the sign of
Sterilize
ominous
society
suspicion.
and get a license to have a kid.
It's just,
Oh,
I
what?
mean, it's just wild that you even consider this kind of example, right? So let me just show you an example, okay?
I didn't bring it up though, so it's.
No,
I
but
say
you
we
engaged with
sterilize
it, and you
population
essentially
and
agreed and said yes
lifestyle.
to it.
I mean, no. So I
A lot
I
of
try to
people, what they
contextualize it,
like-
and you turn it into a yes or no thing, right? So I think the issue here is that you have a lot of Republicans who want to not ban contraception, who want to increase funding to women's health centers, who want to have better access to foster care, who actually like want good things to happen, who are willing to work across the aisle for this issue because they're passionate about
And that's
life.
great.
And then all we hear about. Yeah, and then all we hear about is I guess investigating miscarriages. Like this is
This is
like
why
that.
this is why I said Sarah earlier made the most base point that really if you care about abortion, we should be focusing on our institutions and structural like just our systems of protections for all life, including kids who need to learn about sex, right? Whether that's done through family structures or whatever else. So
Yes, but we also
the point me and
protect human
Amender are making is right. Like you can do all of that stuff. We should do all of that stuff. We can find agreement probably in most of those things. But where we're disagreeing is the blanket ban on abortion rather than just letting people with their doctors decide how they want to react to a birth that will permanently affect their body.
All right, so
Because
I'm
doctors
gonna
are not bioethicists.
I'm going to
Doctors are
I'm
not
going to
bioethicists.
I'm going to bring up just as an example. So I apologize ahead of time if it looks a little freaky, but I think it's really important that people just realize what exactly somebody is going through if they're going through a pregnancy. So this is an example of pre and a post pregnancy body, or rather this is during pregnancy and then post pregnancy. They of course did not have any of these stretch marks. There's also hormonal changes that are quite permanent. It never returns back to normal ever. So here's the thing, right? No, there's no exercise that makes this go away. This always
Both my sisters got their body back perfectly fine with no stretch marks or anything.
okay, but that's not everybody, right?
but
This
even
is the
if that were
problem,
true,
right?
I
The
don't
my argument is stop. My argument is that I believe that the individual should be the one that decides whether or not that they want to undergo this risk. This is not different for
And then you should have
anything.
made a better
If you're
choice to use the contraceptive.
Yeah,
So-
contraceptive. Or should you
Responsible now.
unalive
You
an
made a
unborn
decision.
baby so you
You're
don't get stretch
responsible. If a
marks?
person murders someone, should we just say, oh, he feels guilty now, we should let him go? He made a choice to kill someone, but now he feels guilty, he apologized, let's just let him go. This is a choice. This is a responsibility. Where we start is not
So
fighting
you
about
believe
abortion.
that
It's not
we
fighting
should
about
use
it.
children as a way of punishing the parents for retribution?
No,
Again,
it's making them live with their consequence. The
Yeah,
consequences
yeah,
of
that's
their
yeah.
actions.
We use the child as retribution for their actions.
No,
I don't believe in
majority
this.
of
I don't
most
believe in this
parents
idea. By the way,
well,
this is a common argument tactic that comes from this. Well, I call it the cocaine of right wingers. Where I'm not saying you're a right winger, but it's very common among right wingers where they believe that somebody should see consequence of their actions, even though it's a perfectly natural bodily function that happens. And sometimes mistakes happen. Let's be honest. And under that basis, right, if there is a mistake that happens and it causes someone to become pregnant, I just believe that they should have the choice as to whether or not they undergo that pregnancy. It's very simple. It's not different for anything else that is avoidable.
Have you ever seen people who have worked in third world countries who are pro-life helping women undergo pregnancies? That's like the link that you sent me is going to be a lot less graphic than what they've seen. Okay, like there are people all the time who are part of pro-life groups or pro-life affiliate
I don't
groups who
understand
do charity work in third
how
world
this
countries
kind of
who
revokes
actually
my argument.
Evoke the idea that we're about to be walked through on a basic lesson about pregnancy complications from someone who probably doesn't have as intimate an experience of it compared to pro-life activists who are on the ground seeing it every day. Like, don't you think that's kind of like that just strikes me as wrong?
This is
Like,
just an
if
argument
you've
from
ever met
authority.
people-
It's not actually arguing a real position.
Well, so is the link that you sent us. So that's
No, that's
one
not
for
an
one.
argument from authority. I'm pointing out
authority.
that I did that wasn't an authority. I'm saying that it permanently changes I'm just showing you that it does permanently change their body, and I just think it should be up to the individual to decide whether or not they undergo that. Very simple.
And just
You can't
just
take away human rights
pedantically,
because-
Amender, like that is an authority, but it's an appropriate use of an authoritative source to make your point, right?
I mean, it's not even an authority. It's just all it is just showing that harm
using an
happens to
authority
your
to
body
show.
by going through the pregnancy. It's not perfect. Like people think that it's
I'm
like,
saying that
oh,
we're
you have
aware of
and then you're
this.
done after the baby,
think
and
we
now
have
that the
thought of
baby
this?
is born, it permanently negatively affects the body
we
forever.
haven't thought
It
this?
never goes
no.
back. Never,
think this is our-
never, never, never. Right?
No, it's
And none
not
of us
just
here are
stretch
women.
marks. It's
We
not
can't have
just
stretch
stretch
marks.
marks. Nope.
It is
nope,
not
there's
just stretch
way
marks.
more things.
There's much more things
there's
than just stretch
so many
marks.
complications and new diseases
I
that
carry
pop up in
cancer.
women
Yeah,
after
I'm very
giving
kid.
birth.
I didn't
I've been with my wife through her pregnancy.
We all have our own experiences, right? I have people in my life who have complications because of their births. So, yeah, that's fine. We can appeal to our anecdotal experience. I'm not one to brush them aside, but let me just explain to you, I have people in my life with the opposite experience.
How about making an argument for human rights, right? So if you think that it's a stronger human right to protect someone's like personal freedom than over an actual like human life that might be at stake, then just make that argument. Don't like show us stuff that we already know, such as the fact that pregnancy is very difficult, right? Like we already know this. Like pro-lifers are exposed to this every single day. Like there's nothing new here. Like let's talk about human rights.
Yeah, but the whole point that Amender's making, essentially, is if there is something such that it harms somebody's body in some way or risks harming their body in some way, then that person ought to be able to dictate and decide the thing, like whether to engage in that thing or not.
Yes. That's exactly where I'm
not
at
if
with
life is affected. You're right in every case except when life is at stake. Life is the only value higher than that particular freedom. Like that's why the debate is so difficult.
But the problem is bruh, like even you do not believe that the fact that you're willing to die in the flaming building, even you don't believe that.
because their lives are equal. The baby and the petri dish. full
No,
of babies.
because you were willing to kill yourself as well as everybody in order to save for your ideals. When the reality is that if you did adhere to that human life, you would pick the petri dish.
No, because if it was also two babies and one baby on the opposite end of the building, I'd still try to save everybody. I'm not going to pick like life is not a number.
I'm saying you have to pick one or the other, and if you are consistent, then you would pick the petri dish over the live baby.
Why?
because it's more life. It's 100 fetuses.
That's what I meant by a numbers game. That's what I meant by a numbers game. Life is not a numbers game where 3 lives. That's just more important than 2. All lives.
Okay, so then it's not. So then it's not a matter of the amount of lives. Exactly.
Hey, okay,
you're not
bruh,
consistent.
No, I would agree. I'm very consistent. I try to save everybody.
No, you're not. You're not
Hey,
consistent.
bruh, can
That's
we try?
wild.
Can we try a different hypothetical? Can we try a different hypothetical, bruh? And by the way, this is a very realistic hypothetical, I think, right? Like somebody could sort of break into your home, capture you first, right? Put you in handcuffs on a chair. And then let's say you have a wife who's pregnant and you have a 2-year-old child. And this person who kidnapped you and locked you up is telling you, you need to either choose that I kill your 2-year-old child or that I induce an abortion in your pregnant wife. And if you don't choose, I will kill your whole family, including you.
What the?
If I don't choose, you'll kill everybody.
Yep.
I don't know, dude. I don't like. That's not like they're both equal value. I'm sorry. They just are. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do that to my child. Like I'm not gonna treat my children like numbers. They're human lives, dude. I'm sorry.
It's fair to say you don't know, but like as a father, as a protector in that moment, you're gonna let your whole family die rather than make a decision.
Would I let my wife go through that? Right? Go through.
He's induced an abortion. That doesn't even necessarily
even agree to that. You don't even believe what you're saying. She probably wouldn't even agree to that. Are you kidding me? This is a terrible hypothetical. Like no.
Wait, what? What do you mean it's a terrible hypothetical? You're just gonna sit there and let your whole family get slaughtered rather than make a decision.
Well, both decisions would be equally wrong, is how I would answer that.
Okay, but you would make a decision, right?
They would be equal in value, so it would be the same as rolling a dice. But I'm never gonna like treat human.
Okay.
Think of human life as like.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair, but you are saying you would make a decision, but it's like a roll of a dice.
I'm curious. What do you think that decision would be?
Well, if it's a roll of a dice for you, then it's
very consistent. Right?
What? No, if it's a roll of the dice for you, then I think you're being consistent, right? That is consistent. So you've engaged in the hypothetically consistent to your values, I would say.
That's fair.
Wild.
That's fair. Thank you.
Wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
treating all human life equally is wild. Wow. Yeah. That's yes. You know.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask a question of First Amender, but first I have to know this. First Amender, what do you like? Do you agree that sometimes in self-defense, someone might have to take someone else's life?
In self-defense, someone might have to take. Yes.
Okay. So should we make legal? Should we make murder just legal across the board then? Because there might be some situations where you might have to take someone's life because they might take yours.
No.
Well, why not?
Well, because by the baking into your definition, you said that murder, which is an unjustified killing, and so baked in, it's
you know what I
already
mean.
unjust.
First Amender, stop. Get out the legalese. Like you know what I'm saying though.
I'm applying the definition of a particular word that wasn't legalese. You said a word, and so obviously I would say it is wrong because it is baked into the no, that's
it is
what you
it's
argued,
weaselly,
and I'm clarifying why.
Okay, and no, not murder, then kill, whatever. What you know what I'm talking
All right,
about.
So rephrase your question.
Lives legal.
So rephrase your question. Instead of saying the word murder, say kill. Go ahead.
Okay, then kill. Okay. Should we just make killing legal then across the board just because there might be sometimes you might have to kill someone in self-defense?
No.
Okay, why?
Because there's just killing and unjust killing.
Okay, explain.
Well, like if your life is at stake, you would be justified in killing somebody because your life is at stake.
Okay, so are you just then therefore okay with abortions only if it's the risk to the mother's life then?
No, I'm okay with abortions. Period.
Okay, well, why?
Because I believe that it is something that a mother has to undergo, and it can often be life-threatening. It also permanently changes the body. I just think that the mother's bodily autonomy supersedes the developing fetus. I don't consider a fetus to be at the same level as a human.
So that's what it boils down to. You don't see fetuses as human lives. You just see them
No,
as these,
it is
like,
a human life.
parasites
The
or
question is
something.
whether or not it's worthy of moral consideration.
So
And
it's
I don't
not
consider
worthy
it to
of
be
moral
a parasite
consideration.
either. It just depends on how much someone cares about it.
So it's only a worthy life if someone cares about it.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's literally how we care about lives. Yeah, in order
Okay,
for you to care
so-
about lives, someone has to care about it. That's literally how that works. Yeah.
So if there's a random homeless person, on the street that has no family, no one cares about them, they're just on the street, it should be okay to murder that person then, because no one cares about him.
No, because that's an unjust killing.
What does it matter if it's just or not? No one cares about him. I thought that was the metric.
No, I'm saying that a person has to undergo that risk. That's my main concern. Is that I place the mother of the life of the mother way above the fetus.
Yeah, but to you, life
Right? I think it
altering is
ought
just,
be up to the
they have-
mother to decide whether or not that's what they want to undergo.
Yes, I understand that. But the thing is that to you, life altering, what's something that's a danger to the mother is them getting a bunch of belly fat they can't use and also stretch marks.
No, it's a little
and
more
stuff.
than that. A little more than that.
Dude, like I said, I have a
All right.
wife who's got pregnancies. It's not
Women
just
get
like
pelvic
it's
floor
not something
damage,
that's
right?
worth-
It leads to long-term issues like urinary or fecal incontinence. They have abdominal muscle separation. It often persists and it leads to core weakness or back pain for the rest of their life. It also leads to chronic back pain.
Yeah.
There's changes in posture, weight, musculoskeletal strain during pregnancy. There are breast
You can say that
changes
again.
and not for the better. The size, the shape, and the firmness are permanently changed due to hormonal shifts due to breastfeeding. There is waist retention. Many people struggle to return to pre-pregnancy weight. There is vaginal and perineal trauma, especially from the tearing and epistomy during childbirth. There are hormonal imbalances. There are long-term thyroid and menstrual cycle irregularities. There are dental problems. Pregnancy increases the risk of gum disease as well as tooth loss. There are changes in the foot size and structure, which is permanent due to ligament loosening. There are mental health challenges. There are postpartum depression as well as anxiety, which can persist forever. All of these things are things that are negative towards the mother that persist past pregnancy. And I just believe that if a mother wants to undergo that, they can, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's wonderful. I hope everything goes well for your baby. I just think if someone doesn't want to go over with that, that ought be up to the mother, not a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away. Simple.
Oh, geez, you really changed my mind there. I mean, the way that you made it sound, we should be preventing women from getting pregnant. I mean, it sounds like it's really dangerous.
But to be fair,
It
I do
can
agree
be.
with First Amender that like we don't need to diminish the extreme struggle. I'm being sincere here. We don't need to diminish the extreme struggle that women go through during pregnancy in order to make a pro-life case. I do think that it's we have to empathize with that in order to really understand what people are going
No,
through. to have a
here's
good
the
conversation.
thing. I do empathize with that. Like I said, my wife still has back pains from her first pregnancy. Her second pregnancy was a little difficult, especially because she was older. It was considered a geriatric pregnancy. Same with my third. So don't get me twisted that I don't understand what women go through. I witnessed it firsthand. Okay, but the thing
Take an
is,
epidural?
but what you're saying, the epidural, yeah, the back pain from the epidural.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So what I'm saying though is that what First Amendment is saying is therefore it should be okay to terminate an unborn life because he doesn't even really consider it a life. No, you know what I mean? And we
I
should
never
do
said
that.
He
that.
says it's less value.
I never
He says
said
it's less
that.
value.
I didn't
He says
say
it's less valuable.
I didn't
He said
say
it's
that a
less
fetus isn't a
valuable.
life. I said that it is not worthy of moral consideration. It is up to the
Okay.
mother to make the
All right.
decision as to whether or not it's up to moral consideration. That's what I
Okay,
believe.
I understand. Okay.
Societally,
I'm
though,
sorry.
I don't believe it is up to your moral consideration to force them to undergo that pregnancy.
it's not just a moral. It's taking a life. That's what it is.
Yeah, to you it is. But you're not the one undergoing the pregnancy.
I thought it was to you too.
No,
Did you say it's just to you too?
because if it was my decision, I would leave it up to the mother to decide that. Not you or a politician or a Supreme Court representative 100 to 1,000 miles away, which, let's face it, they're not going to be caring for that child, ever. They're never even going to see that child.
The Supreme Court deals with human rights. The Supreme Court deals with human rights. It's their job. It's not the job of my doctor or me to deal with human rights or make objective statements about human rights.
I think it is if things regarding a person's health as well as their decision as to whether or not they have a child, that should be up to a doctor and the mother, not up to a Supreme Court rep. Right? A Supreme Court rep doesn't know crap about the mother. They don't know anything about that stuff. They just know the legal understanding. That's it.
Take away from the Supreme Court, dude. Just focus on
but
whether
that's
or not it's
what
just
no,
worth
but
taking
that's the
life.
problem. That's the problem. Because the pro-life position is not, we care about human life. Ultimately, what it comes down to is it shouldn't be up to the mother to decide. It should be up to a politician or a Supreme Court rep 100 to 1,000 miles away. That's the argument. Right? Because that's what they're actually arguing. Right? Because if it was because here's the thing, right? You can uphold a pro-life position, but still be pro-choice.
I am a
Did you know
mender.
that? You have the
I'm a
ability.
mender.
I'm kicking you out of here if you do that.
Come on, Poon, lock in.
So
he's locked into this.
So
dick.
I'm telling
He
you
fucked
that
me over, Amender.
I am telling you that if you're personally pro-life, then go be pro-life. There's nothing wrong with that. You can get, if a woman is staunchly pro-life, go be pro-life. You don't have to have a pregnancy. You don't have to have an abortion. But someone who is not pro-life, they can decide, I don't want to do that. Right? So if you want to force the woman to undergo that pregnancy, then yes, ultimately your argument is it should be up to a politician or a Supreme Court representative 100 to 1,000 miles away. That's why I say it that way, because that's what it is.
We have a moral obligation as a modern democratic society to protect others.
Really? Do you think that we ought to have food stamps?
Wait. Do we have anti-murder laws?
We sure do.
Thank you.
So let me ask.
So
no. I'm just curious, right? Because human life matters, right? Ought we have food stamps?
We do have food stamps.
No. I'm asking you, ought we have food stamps? I'm not saying do we have food stamps. I'm saying ought we have food stamps?
What
Yes
does
or
that
no?
have to do with murdering an unborn baby?
No, because if you're talking about a human life and a human life matters, stop. If you're talking about a human life and that a human life matters, then obviously I would assume that you would care about that human life all the way to the end, right?
So because I wouldn't want to murder an unborn baby, then therefore I don't agree or I do agree with food stamps?
Yeah, well, in order to be consistent, yeah. Yeah.
So I have to therefore just take care. So I have to take care of everybody in order to be consistent with pro-life.
Yeah.
That does not make any sense.
It does. It does. In order to be consistent in your worldview, that you ultimately care about life, and it's not about control. It can't be about control. There's no way it's about control. It's got to be in favor of the human life. Therefore, you'd be in favor of food stamps because that's ultimately protecting human life. So, are you in favor of food stamps? Yes or no?
Yes, any local safety net that deals with human life as an immediate
Yeah,
issue.
sure.
Yes, that's a human rights issue. Yes.
Sick.
If it deals with human life as an immediate issue.
Yes.
There we go.
What
But
about
that doesn't mean food stamps as a policy. It could mean a different policy. Let's be honest. It doesn't have to be that.
What about
particular
education?
one, as long as it deals with human life.
Do you think that we ought to be compelled to
Okay,
education?
he's going into his left. He's going to his talking points, and I don't see again how this fits into whether or not you should.
Oh, it
murder
does.
an
It
unborn.
fits perfectly. That's what's amazing about this,
because
right?
you're so
Because
Well, to you it does, but it
ultimately
does-
every single time that I have a discussion like this with like a bunch of right wingers, what
You end up
happens is
splitting
that
out.
they argue a basis of retribution. They often like to use the idea of like punishing somebody because they did a bad thing in the past,
Punishing-
and
having a
so
kid is
we should
punishing
get
someone.
revenge on the mother
Revenge?
because that they decided. No, yeah, it's what happens every time, man. It's the cocaine of the right winger every single time. Every time.
Well, who says it's
I'm glad that you're
says
willing
it's
to at
revenge
least
and
acknowledge that we ought to have food stamps. So I appreciate that. At least
Okay,
you're
but-
consistent in that aspect.
Unless there's
Okay.
a better policy that has more freedom and more life in the process, yes, absolutely. Now look, we also start up private charities for single moms. The same pro-lifers you say are so heartless. Like it's just a nonsense argument. Like nobody.
It's really not.
Well, no, he had. No, but he has this like warped view of like right wingers and such, and that's where
It's
this is
not
all
a
stemming
worldview.
from.
It's unironically what it is.
I've seen some of first man.
Right? How many of these fucking right wingers sit there all day long and fight against abortion, and then at the same time want to get rid of food stamps? It's in school lunches for that matter. It's ridiculous.
Well,
right? Obviously, they don't care about a human life. They just care. They just want that the mother to be a baby factory and force women. It is. I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong in that argument.
Yeah, sure. First Amendment, then I could switch that around and say, well, since you're pro food stamps, you don't really care about lives because you don't care about unborn babies.
Well, no, because it ultimately comes down to the mother to decide, and if they want to have children, they can have children. I'm not the one forcing people to have children. It's you that wants to force people to have children.
No, it's forcing people to have children, dude. People can make their own choices. Like if you
that's a pro-choice argument. Look at you. Wait, he was pro-choice all along. We did it.
Yeah, listen. You don't have to have sex. You don't have to have promiscuous sex and risk getting pregnant.
Dude, guys, I called it. Did I or did I not call it? That it's always about retribution. And they sat there and I told them the trap that existed, and then there they were with saying, listen, because they had sex, therefore they need to oversee the consequences of having sex every time, dude. Every freaking time. Dude, I showed them the trap, they still walked into it. It's amazing. Amazing. Yeah, let's punish sex, everybody. Let's punish them. Oh my God, it's so gross. Yeah, let's use children. Let's use children as a way to punish people. Yeah, smart.
No, you're the one who's saying that.
All right.
Having children's a punishment.
All right, let's try it this way. Hey, cool. I want to try this. Let's see how far this goes. Okay. A 15-year-old. Would you say is a 15-year-old a reasoning individual?
Not fully.
I would say not. Right? They're not a reasoning individual. Right?
Wait, if they don't have any reason, what do you mean by they?
Sick. So let's say, for example, that the 15-year-old has been sexually assaulted. Right? They've been SA'd. Okay. If they've been SA'd, hold on. No. Stop. If they've been SA'd, right?
You're for
right?
abortion no matter what.
Ought they be able? I'm just curious. Ought they be able to get an abortion now that they're pregnant?
Yes.
If they were SA'd, no.
That's a reasonable
All right.
use.
All right. Good talk. That's a good talk, man. That's a wild take. Yeah, we're done, dude. We're done. That's it. That's it. Y'all lost the argument. That's amazing. Holy crap. Holy crap. You guys are saying that if a 15-year-old got sexually assaulted, that they have to have that child. You're a psycho, dude. Oh my God.
I think that you gotta
anyone.
Oh my God. Oh. Could someone call in? Call in, please. Please. Bruh, these right wingers. I can't be the only one, right? Am I crazy? Am I the psycho? Bruh, why would you be okay with that? Holy crap. You can't make this stuff up, dude. You could just walk them to the trap, show them the trap, and then they walk right into the trap. It's insane. We're all sensible here, right? They're not a reasoning individual. They get SA'd. Yeah, they should probably have a choice as to whether or not that they ought to have that child. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. This is totally ridiculous. We all agree with that, right? We're not psychopathic people, right? We have some semblance of empathy towards other people, right? I love how they look at me as the unempathetic person. And then when I bring up this insane example, they bite the bullet. Guys, we gotta this is insane. Someone call in. I don't know. What do you guys think? hopefully you guys are on my side here, because that is wild. Woo, my goodness. Anyway, we're closing Oblivion Gates. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I play till 10 o'clock? 9:30-ish? What do you guys think? Oh, yeah, I'm looking at you guys' chats. Oh, that is so gross. I don't even know what I would even say to something like that. That's insane. Everyone's distracted by other conversations. I'm not against that, by the way. But holy crap. Oh, Sid Machinery says, are you just staying muted and keep rambling, or are you talking to the stream of the chat? I'm talking to the stream. No, I just, as soon as I heard that if there was a 15-year-old being SA'd, ought they be forced to have that child? They said yes to that, which, I mean, to me, that's completely unacceptable, right? Like, I don't have to put two and two together to realize that's insane, right? Like, we can all come to the conclusion that, hey, maybe there should be an exception in that case. I can't believe I even have to say that. Frista says, I'm not that old. I'm only 36. I understand a lot of people are probably younger than me, but it's very doable. Hey, I'm 35. I'm only 1 year younger than you, Fristas. That's probably why I've noticed, like, people are like around my age. They're a lot more reasonable a lot of the times. Yeah. Anyway, I'm accepting phone calls. If you want to take a call, if you're listening, just give me a call. I'm right here. If you disagree, we'll have the discussion further. But as soon as you're willing to force women to have children, even though they've been SA'd, that's insane. And a 15-year-old, a minor of all things, like, dude, they should not be having children. I'm sorry. They should have a choice in the matter, like, not up to a politician or, Supreme Court rep 100 or 1,000 miles away. It's just insane. Anyway. We got a gate to Oblivion here. I'm just going through Oblivion Gate to Oblivion Gate. Should I just, like, do them all? Just knock them out? Just one at a time? Jack says, true. Frista says, I was able to get a bachelor's degree in science and network and engineering for about $8,000. I think that I came out and got my bachelor's degree with $9,000 in debt when everything was said and done. So huge. It was huge. Great work. Bobro is having a very reasonable discussion. He's saying they're talking about whether or not it's possible for the average working class person to easily get higher education. It can or it cannot. It just depends on the situation, depends on the person. But yes, there are instances where it is relatively easy, but it's also can be very challenging for a lot of people, especially like if you're comparing like us to like most European countries. It's a lot easier to get higher education there. Did you eat breakfast this morning? Says at First Amender. What the hell did I just hear? Yeah, this is the discord.gg/modern day debate. Lot of people in there. I muted myself because as soon as I heard them say that they're willing to force children undergo a pregnancy when they have been SA'd, that's wild to me. That is just totally unacceptable. And I'm like, yeah, all right, you and we're not at the same like level of understanding, and I don't think we're ever going to be if that's how extreme you're willing to go. Outside of that, I'm just, is this an identical place that I've been to? It looks identical. All right. Since no one's calling, I'm going to go ahead and unmute.
think you can make a much better argument.
Did
to
we
the
all
moral outrage.
did we all calm down off of the 15-year-old essay and then we have children, or is that?
You missed.
Yeah, we're
You missed
past
what I
that
said.
example.
Yeah, Amanda.
I think you're undervaluing something. Amanda, but you're the one
you said earlier that you
think abortion
value
is good or
things
bad,
and derive
bro?
value.
I'm also
based
talking at the same
I
time
just-
as everybody else. I'm
Yeah,
also
yeah.
talking
Can I
at
just
the
get
same
everybody
time
to
as
mute themselves, please, if that, and then just have one at a time, if we could.
Amanda, do you think abortion is good or bad, bro?
I don't think it's good
When-
or bad. I just think it should be up to an individual to decide. I mean, it's possible for me to say, like,
How is it
you know,
not
oh,
bad?
What do you mean, like killing?
well, I just think it
like,
depends on the
something-
situation. I just think a
something
person
dying-
should
future
decide.
life.
No, I think like dying.
Yeah, I mean,
is, like,
I know,
the
I get
worst
it's a future
thing,
life, but you could
right?
try again.
Yeah.
Like, you can
Well,
go try again if you want
just-
that life.
Just
Yeah,
to,
but we can't.
just to
You
make
could have
sure you
infinite
understand the
possibilities.
question, dying
try
is
again.
the worst
You'll be all
We're
right.
just
possible
piling
outcome.
up dead children now. Like, come
Right?
on.
Sure, yeah. Just pile up tons of dead babies.
But Amanda,
Let's do what the
dying is
Romans
the
did.
worst.
Is Extremo in here
Awesome.
justifying horrible things again, by the way? Like, stuff that would make an amoral
There's too
person
many
like
people. There's
friend?
too many people. Can I just get some mutes and just one at a time? Let's just have Extremo for a moment, and then we'll
Yeah.
open up the floor. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just gonna say, bro, that like dying is the worst possible outcome. I think,
No,
right?
it's
Like, no, it 100% is, bro. Like,
Yeah,
if
it's
you
not.
die, yeah, no, it literally is the worst possible thing that could happen to a
Yeah,
person.
I would like to say that dying
Yeah.
involves an agent being able to experience the death in the first place. So I just would like to say that.
All right.
Well,
So
it's
go-
potential dying. It's not dying per se.
Well, the reason I say I think that the reason I asked Amanda if she thinks abortion is good or bad is because you're killing something.
yeah, I mean, it is killing a human life.
Right.
The question is whether or not it's worthy of moral consider. We kill human lives all the time. The question
Sure.
is whether or not it's worthy of moral consideration, like societally
Well,
speaking.
to me, it's not akin to a human life. It's practically material at the point of conception. So I just don't understand the value at which you place something that can't speak, act, or do anything we associate with humans.
Bullshit.
human
It's currently material, but it will be life.
But then it's potential
Hold on.
life.
Any
You cannot-
possibility.
You cannot hold it to the same value as a full-grown agent.
So by that
nobody's
standard,
doing that.
we should protect all rocks, okay, and all pieces of metal that we find on the ground, because one day
That is just a
it'll be
straw
part
man,
of
my
something
boy.
more complex. It's not. The point is, if we rank everything by what it could be, what it could become, I think we ended up in some really fucking tricky territory.
Well, I mean,
I
that just involves
no.
a time scale that humans just cannot possibly even consider. That is just not
But
even.
you know what I mean? If we have a rock, like material on the ground, ore, right, that can be turned into things like cars and equipment. All right, by the same standard, we could apply this to ore. We could apply this to trash, basically, that gets recycled. Yada yada. It's a bad argument to say, well, it could become X. So.
Yeah,
Yes, but in
to
the
be
time
fair, like we
scale-
don't do this to like
What?
literally anything. Like when you step on a seed,
First
we
Amendment.
don't consider like, oh, you're chopping down
official,
trees.
You are thick.
What?
We're not
Exactly.
talking
Like Bender
about.
said, you
We're not
don't
talking
consider a
about plants,
seedling
though.
in the
We're talking
ground
about
to be a whole tree. Why?
Yeah,
we don't
Amanda,
value
in
trees
the-
that
in
much
the-
either way.
Yeah.
No, we value a tree
value
more than a seed, though, right?
Amanda
Yeah,
is
Yeah, we
but
value a
we
seed.
value a
like-
person.
We still value a seed as a potential
Did
tree.
I
the
mean,
seed
sure, but we
standing
don't.
as a
But
tree?
like I could
Penguin.
step on 100 seeds, and it's
Extremo.
not going to be anywhere close to like what someone would value a tree.
Well, I feel like that
Exactly.
analogy doesn't even really work because
Extremo.
a seed
It
can't
does work.
think
What
and a
up, homie?
tree can't think.
What?
The-
But
the
I'm
point
saying
is
like
that
the,
a human being on
the point of
conception
it is
can't
the
think.
potential of something doesn't
not
make
the
it that
point.
thing.
Yes, but the
Cock
main
is
crux
now
of
thick.
the argument would
Like,
be
or that it ought be
since
valued the same.
a child at conception can't think. A child at conception can't act.
I agree.
Everything that we
Yes.
associate value with is not present. But with a
I
tree,
agree. You're
like
figuring
a
out my
tree
argument.
seed and a
Look at
tree,
you.
a full-grown tree, barely even like there's no value to be placed on either of those.
A full-grown
in
tree
the
is
sense of
supposed to
moral
see
value,
it.
we
should
in
value
the sense
trees
of
to
moral
show you.
value. In the sense of moral
Vegans are
value, there's no
against-
agency.
I
There's
mean,
no-
like, if I'm stopping on 100 seeds versus chopping down 100 trees, if I was, say, a tree farmer, I would probably be a lot more mad about you destroying 100 trees as opposed to 100 seeds, right? Like,
yes, but
course.
the point
Yeah,
that I
but-
was referring to specifically
so
with
obviously
humans
the
is
potential of something is not mean it is valued of the thing that it is potential to being.
yes,
But with
and it is
eggs-
specifically present in humans because humans, when they are fully
That's
grown,
your personal
have the ability
interpretation.
to
I don't
think.
agree with your personal interpretation. I think
But with
that
eggs, you value it
and
as a
ultimately,
feature.
like what it comes down to, is that I just believe that it is up to the mother to assess whether or not that they wish to undergo such a risk. I just don't think it should be up to a politician 100 or 1,000 miles away. I don't
And this
find
is
that to
what
be
the
appropriate.
point I was
That-
trying to
I
make
think it
earlier,
should be.
right? That every situation is
I mean, like, here-
contextual
who
to
was
what's
the-
happening,
who-
and the value and the moral truth, right and wrongness, is contextual to that situation.
Right, wrongness.
Right? It's not just universal that all abortions are bad or all abortions are good. Abortions are contextual to what's happening in the situation. Whether the mothers
So
feels
I
threatened for
just-
their life.
I have a question for Extremo. Extremo, do we consider a seed and a tree to be the same thing in terms of value, in terms of anything? Is a tree the same thing as a full-grown oak?
I mean, I'll answer the question, but I just don't see how this pertains to a person. But I mean, obviously not,
The
right?
analogy
Like,
is quite obvious.
We're
but okay,
comparing
I'm
human
saying, answer
beings
the
to
question.
trees now. That's what we're doing. We're comparing human
Answer
beings
the
to
question.
trees.
no, I did answer the
I'll lock
question.
you up and ban you from Discord.
Shut
Here's
up,
the
phone.
thing.
You're
Here's the
drunk.
thing.
You're drunk. Or I'm going to disconnect you if you keep talking.
Hey, but
You're
why'd you
drunk.
make me watch
I
your
did-
VC
I
if
did
you
ask-
weren't gonna take it back, Amender? That's my question.
I said I was leaving for the day.
I
You
did
said,
answer the
You
question.
said you trusted me. Like, I thought you were just. I just. Okay.
I
my bad.
yeah, I
thought was
said
holding the VC
yeah, I
for
said
you.
I was leaving.
All right. So the reason that we don't
Okay,
consider
fair enough.
a seed a tree for a variety of reasons. First off, while it will grow
I know-
into an
I
oak,
know why.
an acorn, if an acorn is under the right conditions, it will grow into an oak. Right. The issue is the oak is more valuable at every level. All right. Like the oak,
Yeah.
if you cut it down and sell it for lumber, infinitely more valuable than a seed. Right.
Uh-huh.
The oak also produces far more oxygen and absorbs far more carbon dioxide and contains carbon dioxide within its bark. All right, it is literally a environment scrubbing device. The seed, while it can become an oak, and we value lots of seeds, we don't value them more than full-grown trees. If you have the choice between stepping on a seed and cutting down an oak that we kind of need for a variety of reasons, we're generally going to choose the oak, and the same thing applies to people within certain limits, of course.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't apply to people at all, bro.
also
Dude, what are you
follows
re-
for
Wait,
our
wait,
case.
Yeah, it just
bro, hold
doesn't,
on. Let me
bro.
respond. No, dude, that's such a ridiculous. Hey, Apache, if there's two people in a fire. In a building on different sides of the building, and the building is on fire, and one of them is a 1-year-old, and the other one is a 50-year-old. Which one are you gonna save?
It depends on the value of the individuals involved.
Okay, well, see,
Honestly-
that's his answer, guys, and that's the difference between people that are for life and
First
against
off,
that, and for abortion and against abortion. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like
you presuppose
absolutely right.
value onto
You're-
things that clearly do not
Yeah,
have the same
absolutely.
value.
Well,
Like
in his-
inanimate
in his-
material and a full-grown human being.
Yeah.
Extremo,
It's
allow
not
me to explain.
inanimate,
If
though.
this is a random 1-year-old,
that's
right?
just-
If this
that's
is a
just what it
random
is.
1-year-old,
I'll
All
grant it, but it's
versus,
basically
like-
not, it's material.
versus like if it was a random 1-year-old, all right, versus I don't know, the one of the very few remaining nuclear technicians that work on our ICBMs, right? I'm going to choose the 50-year-old. Okay, plainly because the 50-year-old is more valuable to far more people than the 1-year-old. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, here's the thing. Even if a future life is less valuable, it's still valuable at this current moment. And
Yeah, I'm not
also,
arguing it's not. Yeah, I'm just arguing
okay,
there
yeah,
could be a full-grown
But-
developed
and-
life versus an
and-
undeveloped life.
also,
Apache, I'm not opposed to people getting abortion in extreme scenarios, but nobody can be. I think that it's unfair
So,
to have this
Extremo, allow me-
expectation of consistency in anything, especially
allow me
in your ideology. I think that like there needs to be moments in your there needs to be places in your ideology where you put a stop to the continuation of, because then you can start your logic will eventually start leading to to reasoning immoral actions for for the benefit of utility. And I think that when you do that, then I think that you're a fucked up person. And you could reason all you want why you're doing that. But I think that,
I don't
like,
care about being a fucked up person, though.
okay, well, see, that's the thing, Apache. That's the
So,
difference
so
between me
Extreme,
and
I
you,
have two
right?
questions
Like,
for you.
I
I
feel
have
like
two questions.
See, you're
I have two
criticizing
questions.
our
I have
worldview, but your
Extremo, I
worldview
have two questions
relies
for you, and then
on
I'm going to shut up. I'm going to
presupposed
shut up after these two questions.
suppositionalist ideas.
I have two questions, and I'm going to shut up and step down after this. I have two questions for you, Extremo. Is a recently fertilized zygote, say within the last 24 hours, does it have the same value as any other human life, like full-grown human life?
No, obviously not.
So
it's
then why should we give it the same protections? You know what a zygote? A zygote is a fertilized egg.
Yeah,
I
I know what a zygote is, bro, and I know how trees work. I mean,
all right,
like,
so let's say we have tell you what, we have a fetus. For some reason, we're growing a human fetus in an artificial womb, right? And it's at the 10-week stage of development. All right, and we have a full-grown 5-year-old child, right? We have a 5-year-old child over in this other room. Same thing you proposed to me. Which one are you saving, the fetus or the 5-year-old?
I'm gonna save the 5-year-old.
Obviously,
both answers. Yeah. Why? Because I mean, it again, right? Like, I'm not saying that you can't be consistent, right? Like, you can't, like, I'm the one saying that you can be inconsistent. You know what I mean? You can say, well, okay, there are scenarios in which it makes sense to pick one over the other. Like I said, I'm okay with people getting abortions if it's the case of a 9-year-old or 13-year-old getting sexually assaulted, and then they're like, obviously it's a difficult situation, it's unique to them, and they should pick it. But, like, again, you gotta look at every scenario for what they are, and it's really hard. I think that unless you're a victim of a crime and you're underage, we should try to prevent the
Can I ask you
allowance
a follow-up, Extremo, please?
Yeah, I mean,
Space,
that's all I'm
if you
saying.
wanted to finish real quick, but I want to ask Extremo something.
But you go ahead. I'm done.
So yeah, if it's the case that, like, there are certain instances where abortion is justified, right? Granted, it's a hard decision to make. Then don't you think that the family, like the people involved, the healthcare community, everybody, the friends, they should all be the decision makers on what, like, when it has crossed that line, when it's become too much, right? You know, like, do we let the 15-year-olds do it, but not the, like, 17-year-olds, right? That's why we gotta leave it to the family, the mom, the doctor, the healthcare. Like, none of us need to be involved. You can have your opinion on something being like wrong. You wouldn't do it if you were in that situation. Yeah. But ultimately, she's gonna rely on. She's also gonna rely on a community. Like, that is just true. Like, she's gonna.
Okay, fair enough. But I would like to point out, we have ended up with horror stories where in states where parents have a say over that. There have been instances where where teenage girls wanted to keep their babies and were forced by their parents because they had legal control to abort children. There are situations where a girl wanted to abort a child, and the parents told her no, and they ended up killing themselves. I mean,
That's fair.
Well, that's in a scenario where the government does have control.
No, I agree, Space, that the woman should have like the final say, right? I'm just saying they're probably going to be relying on a community.
Yeah. No, it's only up to the woman.
So I'm in a so hold on. Wait, if it's up, exactly. So okay, if you believe that it ought be up to the woman, that's a pro-choice position. You can be personally pro-life and say, listen, I believe it's murder.
Yeah, exactly.
Then, that's a discussion you need to have with your wife or whoever you're having children with. But it is ultimately up to that choice. So, like, it's a pro-choice position. Did we just make Extremo pro-choice just now?
No, Amanda, I've had this position for about 3 years, and you
so you're pro-choice?
Well, I've always said that, bro. I've always said 6 weeks, and only in instances of I think the way Texas handles it is the best, bro.
I would argue 6 weeks is
6
too
weeks
short.
is too
So Extreme, I have a
short.
question for you.
Yeah,
I don't care what you
6
think.
weeks
If
is
you don't, if you think
Very
6
short.
At least we're making headway.
go live in
so,
Florida.
hold on. Why 6
New
weeks
York.
specifically? Why 6 weeks?
6 weeks is too short, in my opinion.
Because okay, that's go live in a state where you think that we're in a that.
All right, so hold on.
You know?
Explain to me why 6 weeks exactly.
Yeah, don't get pregnant
caused
in
you to draw
Texas.
this arbitrary line here?
All
right, so it's not what I'm asking you a very specific question. Why is 6 weeks so specific?
Because it's any number is arbitrary until birth, anyways. And I think that, like,
No, it's not.
obviously,
It's really not. There are medical realities between fertilization and birth.
Well,
Just let him explain it. Just I want to hear him explain why 6 weeks.
Yeah, after a certain amount of time in gestation, the baby can actually just be extracted alive. So obviously you don't allow it for.
What time frame is that,
bro?
Extremo?
I know it's the third
It's
trimester.
21 weeks, Extremo. It's 21 weeks, Extremo. It's 21 weeks.
Yeah. So we definitely don't want to allow it after that. And then I think that,
I
like,
agree with that. So why 6
you
weeks?
yeah, and then, like, reasonably, I want to prevent it from happening as much as possible.
Right, six, there's literally, let's see, 21 minus 6. That's like that's 14, 15. It's 15 weeks between 6 and 21. So why 6 specifically?
Hey, I also have a follow up for Extremo if I can after this.
I have a question as well for Extremo. Yeah.
What up?
So if you're sort of kind of like leaning into the state argument, which I think is a somewhat respectable take for certain issues, but like you're saying in Texas, it's the 6-week law. Don't get pregnant in Texas if you don't want an abortion. So if you're going to lean into the state's argument, do you also think that states should be able to make laws that make it illegal to, like, travel outside of your state to get an abortion elsewhere?
That one's tricky. I think we do. I think that it's unfair to do that, but I get it because, like, again,
But you're not totally insane.
my goal is to prevent it from happening as much as possible.
It's wild that Extremo has the most reasonable of the right-wing positions.
Yeah.
I mean, we still
fair,
disagree, but it's at least somewhat more understanding than the 15-year-old being essayed and forcing them to have a child. That was weird.
So I agree with
Hold on, I want to ask a question with Extremo real quickly. So you said, like, I'm just curious on this. You said 6 weeks. I know by the 2-week mark, the baby, whatever y'all want to call it starts growing veins, right?
Right.
But why specifically the 6-week mark? Like, what in the 6-week mark distinguishes it for you specifically?
Because if I could make it 4 weeks, I would make it 4 weeks. If I could make it 2 weeks, I would make it 2 weeks.
But why? They're asking why.
I have a follow-up for Extremo. Hold on. I have a follow-up for Extremo. Do you think the woman knows she's pregnant?
But here's the thing, Extremo, you cannot like abortion. That's fine. I don't like abortion either. But the question is not whether I like or dislike abortion. The problem is that it's not up to the mother to decide. It's up to a politician 100 to 1,000 miles away to decide on behalf of that's literally what the pro-life argument is. That's how that works. Yeah. So if you don't believe that a politician should be the decider, then you are pro-choice, right?
And I would like to point out that the 6 weeks.
I'm serious. I'm being entirely serious with you, Extremo. What do you think about that?
I think that, like, life is the most precious thing.
I agree with you. I love life. It's super precious. Now,
he doesn't want to pay to keep these kids alive. Yeah. He doesn't want to help them out. He doesn't want to help with universal.
I'm still trying to figure out why the 6 weeks. Like, no one's
I still want to know the 6-week thing. I agree.
I know why.
Is it the heartbeat?
I told you why. Because no.
Is it your state?
Wait, hold up. We agreed earlier that it's any number is arbitrary under 21
No, we didn't agree with that. I didn't agree with that at all.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that as well.
I came up with
there's
20. I
differences.
came up with 20 weeks because that's where the brain
Yeah.
connects to the to the brain stem, which I would say that's what I would denote a human
And that also,
experience.
and that's
And
also
that's
the time frame in
ultimately
which the
what we
baby
care
can
about
exist
when it
outside
comes to
the mother.
humans. Like the fact is
Oh,
that
man.
there exist, for example, humans that are technically alive, but they just don't. They're like vegetables. I mean, we consider pulling the plug on people like this, on people who have custody of that. And so I think if you don't possess that, like the human consciousness, then I don't believe that you're worthy of moral consideration from a societal level, but down to an individual level.
Yeah. If you're gonna murder somebody,
hold on.
do it.
Extremo, give me a sec. I want to point out something out to Amender, by the way. In that same time frame, 19 to 21 weeks is also when the fetus becomes what we generally refer to as a baby, primarily because at around this time frame, 19 to 21 weeks, is when the average developing individual is capable of existing on its own outside the mother, given the correct conditions. So if we take it and we put it in an incubation chamber, it might survive. Really low chances of survival, but it might. Okay? So I think this is a good arbitrary line. And the reason you believe in the 6 weeks, it's called the heartbeat bill. Okay, this is what your state pushed, the heartbeat bill. The issue is it's not really a heartbeat. Okay? If you study like fetal development, which isn't very difficult, if you're interested in having children, you probably should have studied fetal development, especially as a parent. At 6 weeks, you don't have a heartbeat. What you have is a bunch of cells. It's a bunch of cardiac cells, right? And they don't even form a heart. It's just a clump of cardiac cells that are not pumping anything because it's not a heart yet. And cardiac cells, once they're mature, they begin pulsating on their own, like quivering on their own. Okay, this is why people's heart will sometimes beat even after they're brain dead for long periods of time, right? They're quivering. It's not actually a heart. The heart doesn't actually develop until about 12 weeks. 12 to 15 weeks is when the heart is fully developed, or as far as concerned of a fetus. So it's not even a heartbeat. The conservatives are just uninformed.
Hold on, Extremo. Even if it's arbitrary, why did we land on 6 weeks? I'm just still trying to figure this out.
No. Oh, okay. Well, I answered that multiple times, right? Like if I could, I think that the shortest date that that the politicians can agree or society around me can agree, the better in my personal view. So like they decided on 6 weeks, so that 6 weeks is great.
So you're going by the law, basically. You're just going by the law.
Arbitrary. It's just an arbitrary number that he chose because it's low.
Again,
it's the
low,
law.
bro.
Because if the law, hold on. I just want to make this.
You misunderstood the point he did. He understood it. It's just because it's really low, bro. It's not. I could make the argument about the heart. Amender could make the argument about the brain, and we could both reason why it's justified to terminate a child that
I don't think the heart argument is very compelling, and I'll tell you.
I get it.
Hold on, I'll tell you.
But it's an argument, though.
Well,
right?
hold on, and I'll tell you. And I'll tell you why. And I think you'll agree with me if you just hear me out, right, as to why it's the heartbeat doesn't matter, right?
I agree with you in the brain. No, I do agree with you though, Amender. Like,
so
if
then
you
why
want
the
to be
heart?
logical, it's not about. To me, it's the fact that it's a low date, Amender. It's not about
it's a low.
Yeah,
so why do you want it to
like
be so low?
It's not like the baby has reached a benchmark.
Why do you want it to be so low? Like, honestly, 6 weeks is so low that most women aren't even aware that they're pregnant by that point.
Well,
so like by the time they're aware, it's already they can't get an abortion. Like, what's going to happen is that when they realize that they're pregnant past 6 weeks,
and
they're just going to leave Texas and go elsewhere to go get an abortion.
No,
I just think that's
no. They'll have
I
a
disagree
baby.
with that entirely.
No, not at all. If they don't want to have a child, they're going to be very motivated to not have a child.
No, Amanda, believe it or not, even when we had an abortion, most people didn't get abortions.
Yeah, I agree. But the point is that they have that availability.
Well, they don't.
They could choose.
I think that
what's important.
I think that every abortion is abhorrent in that to murder the child is never a valid response
Yeah,
for any.
you think that. But the question is whether or not that you ought compel that morality upon all people.
That's the country
Yeah,
that I
so
want to live in, Amender.
I would ask
That's
him.
the
Yeah,
coun-
exactly.
That's the country I want to live
You
in,
would
bro.
have
That's
that
why I live in
legislation
Texas.
be forced upon
Well, I don't
all
want to live in
Americans.
an authoritarian system. I would rather have a freedom-based system.
Don't live in Texas, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I would
So
like
by the
to
way,
not
you're
live
you're all
in...
aware Texas is a shithole. Believe me, we're aware of that.
I mean, Texas is
that
pretty
being
basic.
that being said, like as we're all aware, Texas is a shithole. But I would like to point out most people aren't even aware they're pregnant at 2 weeks. Okay, in fact, the body hasn't even started producing the necessary hormones to register on a pregnancy test at 2 weeks. Once again, if you're a parent, you should know this shit. All right, you shouldn't have multiple kids and not know this shit. You don't even the woman doesn't even produce the proper hormones to trigger a pregnancy test at 2 weeks. This is why they tell you to wait more than 2 weeks to take a pregnancy test. It literally says so on the package for a reason. Many women don't even know they're pregnant by 6 weeks. Believe it or not, women don't have consistent periods. Not every woman does. In fact, a lot of women's periods bounce around. One of my wives does this, and this is why we didn't realize we were pregnant until almost 2 months in. That's 8 weeks. Because she thought, or she missed a period, and she was like, well, she spotted some, and she's like, oh, I'm syncing up with my other wife, Sid, right? It's always inconsistent. And then it went past that, and it got to the next month, and she was like, yo, I kind of forgot about it. I haven't had a period. And then she spotted, when, oh, I'm getting my period, right? And then she spotted for like a week and a half, and there was no period, and that's when we were like, oh, holy shit, maybe we're pregnant. And then at the end of that week, she got a test, and
Kill
that was
on
8
the
weeks
curse
in.
words, please avoid.
Okay.
I have to edit that
The
out.
point being is that it's 8 weeks in. 8 weeks. And this is a standard thing for women. Okay, this is not unusual. This is very standard. Putting it at 6 weeks, most people don't even know they're pregnant by 6 weeks. Like, I think it's
That's
very,
what I'm saying.
very
I completely agree.
This is why
I completely agree with Apache's decision. You're saying that they're not aware. They aren't. Like,
exactly.
6 weeks is silly.
This is why 21 weeks was such a good. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish my point. This is why 21 weeks was such a good standard. And not only is it a good medical arbitrary line to draw, you know, when the fetus is capable of existing, basically becomes a baby and is capable of existing, and as Amender points out, the brainstem connects with the spinal column, but also, you know you're pregnant by 21 weeks, okay? You fucking know.
Yeah,
all right?
you know, By 20 weeks,
you know by the time,
it's
excuse
like,
my
yeah,
language, you know you're pregnant by 21 weeks. Not only do you know, but you have ample time to go get something done. If you don't go get something done in 21 weeks, you either didn't have the resources or it wasn't that important to you.
No. So usually the range is between 4 to 8 weeks, and retroactively, a woman needs like a month to realize that her period's missing. So that's already 30 days.
Yeah.
You're going in at about 5-6 weeks on average that she'll realize that she's pregnant.
Fristas says, hold on. Fristas has a question for Space Apache. They're asking, wait, is this dude a polygamist? Go ahead, Apache. All you.
Yes, I guess you could call me a polygamist. I'm more polyamory, not necessarily. Polygamy is a type of polyamory. We're into polyamory, but yeah, we do, yeah. So
you'll learn about Space Apache. He says some wild stuff. We love him though.
But Amender,
I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff.
Amender, wait,
but he says some wild stuff.
Polyamory is fine, right, Amender?
Ancient
Me?
alien
Do I think
civilization
if
colonized our
individuals want to engage in polyamory, then yeah, go ahead.
So why use the example of Space being married to two women or with two women as like
that is not my
extreme antagonizing me.
Okay,
well,
he says some
space can be crazy.
He says some crazy stuff. This is not one of the crazy ones. Yeah, it's not. It's really not.
Like,
there's crazier.
Dude, yeah, I didn't take any offense at it at all. Zero. And I want to tell that person real quick. I want to tell that person, for those who tell you it doesn't work.
What's your craziest take, Apache? Go ahead.
Craziest take?
Yeah, give us your craziest take. Go ahead.
I mean, I have a lot of them.
What's the craziest?
I know you do.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a crazy take that offends people very deeply. If we had a leader, right, and he was a really good leader for everybody in the world, improve the lives of billions upon billions of people, but a couple of times a year, he horribly sexually assaulted and murdered somebody, a random person, right? And he did this like once a year. I would say, I found out to say I was like involved in that leadership, and I found out, the leader's doing this type of stuff. I would cover it up for him in a heartbeat. The issue being is that because while that leader was doing terrible things, if he's saving and improving the lives of billions, what's the cost of one life per year versus billions?
I brought this up earlier, Amender. See, that's the difference between people like me.
No,
and
don't put me in the same. Don't no.
That's the
Don't put me.
fundamental
There's
difference.
36 people watching. No.
Oh my god.
Let's go.
Oh
Don't.
my god, Extremo, you need to have a good drink like I am right now, bro. Like it solves.
Do not put me in the same. I'm not in the same boat.
Wait, first
Okay.
Amanda, would you not
Donald
have
Trump
some
sucks and he does the same thing.
No, well,
so, I mean,
I said me and Apache, bro. I didn't say me or you. Or
Okay, I'm listen, I'm preempting. Okay.
Well, Mender, you're both Hispanic. You're both Hispanic.
Well, no, because you're a wild motherfucker too. But I mean, Apache's from another planet, bro. Like
Wild
that
mother
motherfucker.
effer.
Yeah,
Wild mother
Patchy's
effer.
from another planet. Yeah.
For sure.
Space Patchy is
Hey, but
from
you know what
Venus.
though? I tell you what, bro. I guarantee you, he's a who in person though, because he must have a whole bunch of stories that none of us still haven't heard. You know what I mean?
Oh man, drinking and smoking.
I'd call him an
Yeah,
important person, but unfortunately, he's very potent.
Ender, put my wiener dog in your stream highlight.
God damn it. That was such a bad joke. Oh my god. But I'll laugh at it.
Wait, that was
I like
funny.
the fuck Apache.
What do you mean?
That was
He's an
funny.
impotent person.
I was dragging a cigarette.
That was
That
funny. I thought it was
Amender,
funny.
put my wiener dog in your stream highlights. My wiener.
No.
Apache.
What's up?
I'd hate to go here, but to what limit would you stretch that?
I mean, like, I'm a utilitarian, so that would take some consideration. But
right. What
what
if like instead of it being one person, he goes into a village and does it to everybody?
How many lives?
Still
would you
once a
save?
year.
Like,
Fristas is asking, Amender, what
Yeah.
kind of graphics card do you have? This is a 4070 Ti. I love it. Do I plan on getting a better card? Yes. Honestly, like, if anything, I'd probably rebuild a new computer because this thing is like it's over 5 years old at this point. The card isn't that old, by the way. But you know, I've got a 3700X for the processor, and so it's like, you know, it's getting to the point. It's getting to the point. It's getting like, okay, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe the next generation of cards, 6000 series. That's probably when I'll build a new computer.
Because honestly, Extremo's question is great for a utilitarian, I think, space.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. I
What
wanted
is
to
the
deal with
threshold?
that in broader. I want to deal with that in broader detail. So to answer Extremo, the issue is like, while I'm very much of a utilitarian, there are obviously limits. I'm not an idiot. There are limits. Like, I'm not going to take this point. Well, if he kills 100 billion in one and he saves 100 billion in two, we're going to do, like, obviously I'm not obviously utilitarian has its limits.
Wait,
However,
you don't
like,
wait.
I
Hold
don't
on.
think
So what
that
you're
can
saying
really-
is that Apache, you would not want to become the Kwisatz Haderach? Is what you're?
I know, right? Well, no.
Are you telling me
read
you would
news, like,
not want to become the Kwisatz Haderach, where you
Kwisatz
kill more
Haderach
people
ended
than
up-
Hitler in the
he
Galaxy
ended
Wars?
Up saving, but he did end up saving all of humanity through that. So I think that was
Well,
that was worth it. But,
I mean, like in the books, right? It's like he basically was like, yeah, he killed more people than Hitler, but yes,
killed
billions
like
of
1 trillion
lives
something
were
people.
saved because of him. But like there was like a giant jihad that purged a lot of
you're
people.
thinking more of the worm god. You're thinking more of the
No.
worm
This is
god.
literally like book 3.
I know.
This is book
I know,
3 where
but
he's like the
technically-
emperor and he like controls everything in the entire galaxy. Like there's a bunch of people that die because of that, and it's like, and he
Paul
like
rejects-
ultimately for the benefit of the galaxy.
Yeah, but Paul rejects it. Like, so what happened? Paul kind of
Wait, no, he doesn't. He literally is that.
No. I'm talking. No, listen. The Kwisatz Haderach is supposed to become the worm god and continue the golden path.
I didn't go that far. I read
So
Children
what
of
he
Dune.
does is he
I
kinda
got like
chickens out.
2/3 the way through the Children of Dune, and I was like, wait, I hate these children, and I don't want to listen to them.
I have read every Dune book.
You read every
multiple
single
times.
one. Maybe I should.
Every
try.
single one
I'll try
multiple
again with the
times, yeah.
Children of Dune because I don't know, man. It's just too.
It gets weird, man.
It's so weird. It's so weird. And I'm like, I can't relate to like these permanently prescient children who just like ultimately just, I don't know, they just like they're like sitting there thinking what the other person is going to say and responding to what like they think the other person's going to say, and the other person's responding back knowing what they think they're going to say. And I'm just like, I hate these kids. I hate them. I hate listening to them, and they're very bizarre and prescient, and just have a difficult time dealing with it. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't like it.
Well, if you wanted me to sum it up really quickly, so Paul rejects. He ends up deciding to hang out with Chani, and then she dies, and eventually he disappears in the desert. His son, Duke Leto.
No, don't spoil it. No.
Okay,
I might reconsider.
Okay, fair enough. So, but when it comes to the question of how many, obviously there's a fucking limit, and I mean, I'm trying to keep my language under control. There's a limit, and I don't know where that limit would be, man. I think that's a judgment I would have to make.
Space, can I ask you a deeper question?
Well, let me finish. Let me talk this real
Frist
quick.
ask. Oh, hold on. Real quick. Frist asks, Amanda, are you Team Thanos? Okay, let me just tell you this. I'm just going to explain it very, very simply. Thanos, like, he has the Infinity Gauntlet, and he's like, maybe there's an argument to be made that, like, oh, we got to, like, you know, reduce the overall population so that way people can live bountiful lives. But it's like, dude, you've got the Infinity Gauntlet. Can you just, like, make more freaking resources? Stop. Why are you doing this? Like, why? And then he's like, well, eventually he'll run out. Okay, then use the Infinity Gauntlet and make more resources. You don't have to kill half the population. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Thanos was a visionary.
So the answer to that, I just want to tie this up real quickly. Obviously, there's
Thanos
a limit.
is a genocidal
I don't know where that limit is.
maniac.
Wait,
He's still a visionary.
There's obviously a limit. I don't know where the limit is. All right, that's something I would have to judge. You know, if I was in that cabinet or whatever, I would have to judge that in the moment when I was there. The reason I say one is because one is easy. Like, one versus the improvement of lives of 9-10 billion people.
Right, it greatly
I'll
outweighs.
cover that up all day, every day. But if it was like 30 or 40, yeah, we start having problems, bro. It's like, is this really worth it? Like, what do we do about this?
Can I do the follow up with you then? So I'm curious. And by the way, my moral system, my ethical system is very similar to yours. I'm not a utilitarian, but I am sort of a particularist in that, like, I evaluate each situation and context. Like, there's not like a universal principle.
Yeah,
there's just each situation. But I'm curious because I know you. We've had talks about morality in the past, and I know you call yourself like an immoralist or something like that, or amoralist. Amoralist. So
I could have told you that.
I guess I'm curious why an amoralist would be adopting a moral framework.
Because I care about, it's not about out of morality, it's out of stability. All right, so if you for example,
hold up, just real quick, because stability is still something it's still a value, right?
Yeah,
you might not call it morality.
We've had this argument before. It comes down to survival instincts. You don't consider you consider survival instincts morality. I don't consider survival instincts morality.
No. I don't just base it on survival and evolution. That's like a part of it, but that's
what I do base it on, though. I do base it on that. That's the difference.
Okay, but you're still like value. There's still a value there, is what I'm saying.
I guess. I mean, you say it's a value judgment, it's a morality. I don't view it as a morality. I mean, we had this discussion before, and we just agreed to disagree on it.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, the issue is like the reason I say amorality. The reason I say amorality is because I think the reason I would be upset at this guy is at a certain point, it's not necessarily the number of bodies. Say it was 40 people a year this guy killed, right? At a certain point, it becomes harder to each body. One person disappearing is easy to cover up, right? 10 people disappearing is easy to cover up. When you start to get into numbers like 30 and 40, it becomes much harder to cover up. And if it's my job to cover this shit up, I'm starting to get stressed out and be like,
wait, can I reframe the question then?
Hold on. Let me finish. And B, secondly, like, I think most of humanity would tolerate the concept of, like, basically if you had a super leader of one sacrificial person per year, most humanity would not like it, but they probably wouldn't do anything because they want to keep their lives normal. When you start getting into the higher numbers, people don't want that. They begin to feel unsafe and insecure, right? And that creates instability in your society. And instability in your society can lead to less technological advancement. Less technological advancement threatens the long-term survival of the species.
So it's not just about the ability to cover it up. It's also about sort of like a democratic opinion about like the people as a whole and the stability from
you gotta
from
care
the
what your
people.
people think.
Well, I mean,
Yeah. So, but still, right? And the third thing is progress. So these are like 3 things I'm pointing to you as something you're valuing.
I mean, stability has to do with personal interest, Like, it has a lot to do with personal interest.
I don't think it does with space. I think
moral-
that space cares about future generations and future humanity. It's not just a personal thing.
It's not.
No, but he also cares about the person that is getting sacrificed. For example, I can give you this example of space. So let's say those 40 people are lifelong prisoners. Like they're getting life in prison. They're never coming out. They're rapists or murderers. And the world leader just decides to kill maybe 60, 80 of them. I'm pretty certain you wouldn't have an issue with that.
I mean, like, it'd be a lot easier to sell. I'll tell you that.
My question is, when does the sacrifice stop? Like, when is there a good enough sacrifice?
Hold on. Give me a quick second. Hold on. Just to pause it real quick. Pause it real quick. Rain says, First Amendment, obviously Thanos would have a reason. Or else he would have done that first. It's just that no one cared about learning the reason in the series. So we don't learn about it. All right, listen. You're asking the reason. I got the reason for you. It's because he wanted to please death. He was like he had a rock hard purple dong for death, and death was not going to be satisfied until everybody was dead. There, I know the reason. Okay. But it's not in the movies, so okay. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Wait, did I just hear rock hard dong? I fell asleep, but then I heard rock hard dong.
I just want to chime in with what Amender said. On top of that, Thanos did the same thing to his own planet when they ran out of resources. Entire planet got fucked up and destroyed because of it. Why the hell did he think this was going to go better on a universal scale?
No, he knew it was necessary. He was like, I need to do it. Got to do it.
He's like, I'm going to try it on Earth. It failed on my planet, but let's see if it works here. Apparently.
So, by the way, to continue your thing, Chaos, I think it would be a lot easier to sell the idea of, 100 death row inmates getting sacrificed a year. I think people would be far easier to buy that. Not that I wouldn't care. It's just that, like, it's easier logistically, and it's easier to sell. Like at every level, it doesn't necessarily threaten stability so long as the population buys it. Okay.
Rain says that's not canonical. Yeah, it is. It's in the Marvel books. It's in the...
That is canonical.
That is what I just said with the death thing. That's canonical.
That is canonical. Yeah.
Well, I thought that was Deadpool.
No, you think I don't know this?
No. I don't actually know. I'm just.
Yeah. I knew it.
I know that Deadpool did the same thing at least. Deadpool did the same thing.
Anyway.
Unfortunately, I couldn't state number.
If you just watch the movie, then yeah, the immediate question is like, why didn't he just make more resources? Which but if you bring in the death love story. Sorry, not love triangle. Love story. Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, all right, now it makes sense. But prior to that, that doesn't really make any sense. It's like, why did you kill everybody? You have the Infinity Gauntlet. You can make whatever you want.
Also, that Earth timeline is a specific movie timeline. It's different than the actual.
Dumb.
Can
I just say?
So, for the movie timeline, imagine it's like Earth 212, and the comics is like Earth 213, where this is all happening.
Well,
so
I'm going on a limb. I don't like Marvel movies. Marvel movies suck. They're bad. They never were good. I'm so tired of just garbage movies after garbage movies. I'm tired of them.
Hotter take.
They're trash. Movies are bad, bruh.
Okay, what?
I don't know, man. Have you seen 12 Angry Men? It's really
Dude,
good.
I don't.
Fantastic, Mr. Fox's father.
Oh yeah, I saw them and then I ran away.
My favorite movies are not normally movies that. I don't know. I'm not really entertained by movies anymore. Like, what kind of movies have you seen recently that are like actually
movies are for children?
You want like a really good movie, like recent?
No, just like an inspiring movie, not like something new.
Inspiring.
It's Arrival.
Yeah, like
Arrival's incredible. Yeah, Arrival's incredible. Another movie. Another movie, Nosferatu. Really good movie. Really fun.
no.
Really good. No, it's really
I think
good.
you meant like
It's really
recent
good.
movies, right?
That is a recent movie.
Nosferatu
there was
is
a
recent,
new
as is
Nosferatu?
Arrival.
Yeah,
Arrival
it's
is
really
recent.
good.
No,
It's
relative
really
to
good.
movies, it's not
It's
new.
really
Relative
good. You
to
gotta
movies,
watch
it's
it.
Not new. That's wrong.
They do a
What's
reboot?
good?
Yeah.
It's not a new
You haven't
movie.
seen the
Movies
new
are
Nosferatu?
obviously
It's
recent.
so good.
Oh, okay. You mean that one? I
I've
haven't.
seen it 2
Didn't know it
times.
was
I
out.
just I like it. I think it's a really good film. I think it's a really good piece of art. Not my favorite, but it's a really good piece of art.
I love
Certain
it.
people
No,
are
I
gonna like it.
love
Certain
it.
people aren't gonna like it as much.
I
think
love
it's a
that
really
film.
well-made film, top to bottom. It is incredibly well made. Just not my cup of tea, but incredibly well made.
When you guys mentioned someone dying
Like,
for others,
okay, all right,
you
all right,
mentioned
all
that
right,
the
all right.
sacrifice.
Hold on. So, Apache, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hold on. Give me a sec. Give me a sec.
1 second. 2, 3, 4.
Hold on. Give me a
Give it
freaking
time.
second.
Seconds going on.
6, 7, 8.
Oh,
9.
All right, hold on.
9.
Like,
9, 10, 11,
like,
12, 13,
all right.
14, 15, 16,
So,
17.
hold on. So
Else,
the
what,
character
13, 14,
Nosferatu, right? Honestly, really, really cool character. Like the voice actor was insane, right?
That's pretty good. Like he also said he didn't want to play that character ever again. So
Like,
there's that.
hold on. Like he's sitting there talking to Hutter, right? He's talking to Hutter, right? And then there he is in like the castle, and like you remember the part where he's sitting there. He's like, oh well, he's trying to address him, and he's like, Lord, you will refer to me as my blood demands it. You remember that?
Yeah.
That was so
Yeah,
cool.
yep.
Like here's like what is the part where like he was talking to him about some sort of superstition that the gypsy village had, and like the Nosferatu is like responding like, how I look forward to retiring in your city of a modern mind who knows
Reminds me of like Dracula
nothing
Untold or
of,
something.
I
nor
don't even know what
believes
y'all
in
are
such
talking about.
morbid
Dracula
fairy
Untold is
tales.
kind of a
That's
big
such a
movie.
cool, what a cool character.
Extreme.
Nah, not really.
Your vampire impression sounds like the vampire.
That's
from
what,
Hotel
dude. That's what he
Transylvania.
sounds like in the movie.
Adam Sandler.
That's what he sounds like in the movie.
The Hotel Transylvania Adam Sandler guy.
Rain says you're making it seem less cool, Amender. I'm sorry. My, I don't know. Obviously my voice acting doesn't know justice. Obviously, like it's never gonna.
Amanda, you need to practice your voice acting.
Damn it, Penguin. Lock in.
God damn it, Penguin. I never. I'm gonna
Penguin, you are a little bitch, and I hate you.
I know what you were going to say.
Well, sorry, that was my girlfriend
Das
talking. I didn't
Vaterland.
allow her. You should
Ruf
go.
seine
I should not be
Kinder.
cursing. I'm
Mithilfe
sorry.
dieses Geräts sind wir der Lage, die größte Kriegsmaschine aller Zeiten.
Oh hell yeah! I like that.
TL1524 says, "Look, First Amender is acting like an arsler again." Thanks.
All right, so to the as far as like if you talk about really good films, like Nosferatu is very good. The reason I pointed out Arrival is because you asked for inspirational.
Arrival's
This is why
amazing.
Remender also likes Arrival.
I love Arrival.
And Arrival, I'll say two things about Arrival. It's directed by probably the greatest director, in my opinion, who's ever lived, which is Denis Villeneuve. He's currently alive today, making films, quite obviously. But either way, Arrival is not only is it a beautiful, extremely well-made film, but the human reactions in that film are very, very human. Like, there's no exaggeration. That's pretty much how humans would behave in that scenario. Humans do really bad and really good things with justifications of why they feel that way. And the end of the film,
This sounds like
It's
AI
genuinely-
generated, like.
Oh,
I don't know
Arrival?
why.
Oh,
Arrival is not
No,
even
just
AI.
like how you're explaining it.
No,
Yeah,
no.
but
Wait,
everything
he's,
else is
How did
AI
that
is just
suggest
dude, AI is just like a really good copy.
he's just like
Hey, bro,
explaining
whether
the
it's
movie
AI
to you and like,
generated
what is this AI? It's like a literal human
sounds
talking
AI
to you. You're like,
generated,
what is this AI generated nonsense? What, dude? How TikTok brained are you, bro? What the
Dude,
heck?
this is just me, bro. I have a good grasp of it. Hey guys, fuck me for having a good grasp of the English language. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
How
fuck
dare I
you.
speak well?
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your fault, dude.
Fuck you, homophobe.
I would fuck you.
There,
Hey.
farted into the mic.
I guess like from like all like these like typical like alien movies, Arrival is
Am
definitely
I
like
the
one
only
of
one
the
that's
best.
drunk here? Is anybody else?
Hey,
Very,
Spencer
very
Patch,
good.
you
Oh,
just decree and
what?
creepy.
Well, Poon
I'm joking.
was.
Nobody liked my Nosferatu impression. That's
Amender,
sad.
I loved it, Amender.
I
As far as
tried very
Arrival goes,
hard.
At the end of Arrival, I'm not going to spoil it for you because if I told you why Arrival is inspiring, then I would spoil the film. But if you watch the
you've
film,
already spoiled the
Wait,
Avatar.
Arrival, the alien movie?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a really good film.
I read about that. I read about that yesterday, actually.
Are you kidding me? That's
It's a
like
good
the
movie.
demon stuff, dude. No way.
Wait, which
Actually,
Arrival? Are we talking about the
No,
new
that's
Arrival?
bad.
or
That's
the old
bad
Arrival?
news bears for sure, dude.
Wait, which Arrival movie? Because there's two.
Yeah.
You
I'm
think that's
talking about
good
Arrival
news?
by Denis Villeneuve.
Arrival from like what's like 2019.
Those aliens are gonna take your soul.
Okay, because there's an Arrival that's
Or sorry, they're gonna
that was
lose.
made in the
They
90s.
want you to lose your soul with them.
What?
Yeah, bro.
Okay.
Those aliens do not care about anything.
The 1996 Arrival movie is like quite a bit different.
They just want you to join the hive mind.
I put the film the cover art for Arrival in the side chat, and it is like it is not. Are we talking about the same film? Because that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I watched that one.
Denis
That's the one
Villeneuve.
where they had to like decipher the language. You know, they had like that.
You didn't find that to be
whatever that monolith was, and
inspiring?
they like went inside and they had to like.
Yeah, it's
figure out- or no,
amazing.
they weren't even
Wait,
inside
that
yet.
film was
They
amazing.
didn't
You
find
didn't
that
like
to be
it?
They had to use like a
inspiring?
resonance to get inside, right?
No.
They
It was
took
some sort of
on
what?
like a lot of like ideas.
They
from,
had to
like,
use
like,
a
good films
lift.
in the genre.
They had
and
to
they
use
found
a-
them, like so fucking good.
A
It's
construction
definitely-
lift to get
Like,
up.
hold on. You get it.
Okay, well,
how was the end of that not inspiring for you? Like you watched the end, right?
Remind me.
The girl thought she can see time because of the language that the aliens taught her, and she makes a very important decision regarding her family. As a result of that.
There's nothing. No. First of all,
I didn't like
okay,
that at all.
That was
Don't miss hope.
I did enjoy.
I thought
I
it
did
was
enjoy
way
that
too
scene.
slow.
Like at the
I'm
end,
not saying it's
like
wrong.
it was like a
dude.
bizarre, recursive, like understanding of time, where it was like they would do this thing, but also like it was already preceded. I was just like, holy crap, that's recursive. That's
it was
weird.
The best, it was the best
Yeah,
time
it's like
loop.
a fourth
Hold on,
dimensional
I'm going to point
perspective,
something
you know?
out about it. It was the best. There's been a lot of films that have done time loops, but Arrival did a time loop so fucking smooth you didn't even realize it happened until you sat
Effing
and
so
thought about it.
effing smooth.
Oh, then maybe I'm just ignorant of
I
that.
think it
Yeah,
was
I
like
didn't
similar
realize it
to
was
like
that-
Interstellar
was
when
so
it comes to
effing
the end, though, right?
Interstellar did it fucking well. I liked Interstellar. Hell yeah.
It was amazing.
Interstellar
my
was
girlfriend, my girlfriend fell asleep.
was nice
to
too. Yeah.
Interstellar.
I'm saying it's like
That was
the
very
end of
clear.
like
and
the-
that's hard to miss. You can't miss that.
Well,
It's like what I was about to say. It's like the end of like Arrival and Interstellar. They're both like very nice, but also like not like super accurate. Obviously, like when it comes like to like actual like science, right? But they're still like for a movie, it's a great ending.
more accurate than
Like,
other
most
movies.
movies-
He asked about-
I
he
just
asked
want to
about
say, right,
inspiring.
like,
It's
hold on, real quick,
inspirational. I was thinking-
I got you,
real quick,
Apache.
real quick. I appreciate y'all, but just FYI, I have to end the stream. I want to go hang out with some other friends, but I want to hand
Wow,
over the
you're not saying
stream
we're
to other
friends?
people.
We're not good
no,
enough
no,
friends?
you guys are friends too. Relax, relax. I got
Amanda, I asked you, sir. I asked you
you
if we were friends earlier, and you didn't give me a response.
So, I appreciate y'all very much. Please consider subscribing if you haven't
still
subscribed
not gonna
already. I
get a
love you very much. Mwah.
On
Okay.
Twitch?
All right. I mean, if you want on Twitch, if you want,
Wah, wah, wah.
send me a super chat, whatever you want. Anyway,
I can't wait for when
I'm gonna
Amanda
stop streaming.
Send me
Thank
money.
y'all. You don't have to. You don't have to. I don't care.
I give away
I don't make
plenty
any
of
money.
money, man. Maybe
Send
not.
$101.
If you really need the money, I'll give it to you. But
Everybody say bye. Everybody say bye. Everybody say goodbye. Everybody say bye.